I think my brother asked you a question. Are you going to answer it, or should I make you? What? I didn't see her move at all, so this is what ninja are like. The shivering stopped as his 20 men came around to surround the two ninja. Don't kid me, girl. We're more than 20 and just the two of you. Ninja or not, you don't stand a chance. If you go away quietly now, I might be willing to ignore your impudence. The redhead was about to slit his throat for having the balls to threaten her brother, but the blonde's voice stopped her short.
Leave him be, Kasumi, I'll handle them. The red-haired girl gave her brother a nod. She didn't really care about the stupid thugs, so if her brother got some entertainment out of it, who was she to take his fun away? All right, Oni-chan. A pitch-black katana materialized in the blonde shinobi's hands as he started walking towards the supposed leader of thugs. The crowd that had gathered around them looked on with pity at the boy who was marching straight to his death.
The blonde fixed the leader of the group with a neutral glare. Look, I'm usually not the kind of person to cause unnecessary violence. His eyebrow twitched when Kibi made a choking sound. Yay, you! Not wanting unnecessary violence? Wahaha? That's got to be the most ridiculous thing I've been told this century. He continued speaking, completely ignoring Kaibi's words. But I do have some morals. Oh, I take that back. Naruto-kun, this takes the cake. Really, you? Morals. I can't breathe.
He twitched, but otherwise ignored her giggling fit again. So I can't just ignore what you were going to do here. I'd appreciate it if you could all put down your weapons, kneel down and say, "We're worthless Naruto-sama, please kill us."
The thugs looked gobsmacked for a while before some of them started laughing, while the rest were still trying to recover from the shock. Boys, let's show this bastard why we're feared. It was a slaughter, and all of it had taken less than 10 seconds, 9 of which Naruto had spent on sealing the souls before they could flee. No one but Kasumi had been able to see what really happened, and she knew that Naruto had used no jutsu, and had done what he did with sheer speed and skill.
The redhead almost shivered with what she could only describe as excitement. So cruel, so alluring.
And the most terrifying part was, not a single speck of blood could be seen on either him or his sword, showing years of practice and a level of skills most could only dream of.
Whom they had for a moment thought to be the new victims of Gato's thugs had killed their tormentors so easily that for a moment the people were left wondering if they could have done the same.
That was before they realized that Gato and his army of thugs was probably nothing compared to the sheer power the blonde boy contained. And if his sister was even half as powerful, they could easily free or enslave their country.
It was in that moment that the witnessing people of Nami no Kuni realized what a mistake it was not to have any sort of shinobi defenses in their town. Even a single shinobi could easily overtake their country, even from under Gato's control if the blonde shinobi's power was anything to go by. But it was too late to realize that now.
Who the hell are you? For a moment, Naruto seemed surprised that someone in that pathetically cowering crowd actually had the courage to speak up to him. Especially considering he had just killed 20 fully armed men and made it look like bread, roll, and butter. Still, he didn't bother responding to the pathetic man. He wasn't worth the time. On the bright side, you got about 20 more souls in that sword of yours. Honestly though, you gotta collect some more. Naruto heaved a sigh of defeat as he acknowledged her point. I know, Ki-chan. I've been using it for 4 years and only have 42 souls in my collection, and none of them have above average strength except the 2 Konoha Anbu. I fought near the Kurama compound. If I keep going this way, then I'll never be able to utilize Raijin to its full effect. Kibi's voice softened slightly. Don't be too hard on yourself, Naruto. You did collect plenty but ended up overusing them during our training trip. Ah yes, Now that you mention it, perhaps it wasn't a complete waste. I did get lots of practice with the soul techniques, and I can focus on collecting more souls to power up my Ron Senin mode and Rai Changjin now. With the practice I've already had, I will be able to use them more efficiently. Untu-chan.
Snapping out of his internal conversation with Hitomi, Naruto focused his attention back at his twin sister who was looking at him expectantly.
Yes? What do you want me to do now?
Naruto hummed in thought before shrugging with the slightest hint of a smirk on his face. There are many things I can think of making you do for me, but first let's handle the situation here, K. The redhead giggled, some embarrassment clear on her face. I shouldn't think about QB being with Oni-chan negatively. If that's what he wants, I will accept it no matter how much it hurts me. I might hate her for taking him away from me, but he's happy. Oni-chan always wanted to learn new things, and no doubt QB can teach him more than anyone else. The blonde didn't even bother looking in the direction as he uncaringly threw a kunai. Had the people in the crowd or the old blacksmith been actually able to see it move, they would have gasped as it was aimed towards the captured girl. They did gasp when her ropes fell off after being cut by the kunai. You two come with me, he gestured towards the man whom the thugs had been taunting and the girl who was previously tied to the tree. His tone booked no argument. The old man followed after the blonde with some hesitation, and his granddaughter stuck to her grandfather's side. Don't worry, he whispered to her, I don't think he will hurt us, or he would have already. The girl nodded. She was more happy with the fact that both of them were alive to worry too much about what was happening anyway. They continued walking away from the crowd as Naruto decided to break the silence.
I don't run a charity. The old man cringed at the blonde's cold tone.
His tone softened then, if only a little bit. That being said, I have no intention of harming either of you, unless you do something I don't appreciate. Your dedication to your family was admirable, especially given your age. And for that you have my respect. Thank you, young man. I assure you that I'm eternally grateful to you for saving my granddaughter's life, and for that I will repay you in any way I can, even with my life. As long as you keep her safe, I will do anything. The blonde chuckled, ignoring how scared the little girl was getting with every word her grandfather spoke. Well, it's good to see they don't just expect me to be their hero and are actually willing to compensate me.
You have some talent those thugs coveted, I take it? I see no other reason for them to pick so exclusively on you and yours, while there were so many others available as well. It could have been random, but usually people like them focus on making the example out of a strong man or a pretty girl, to have more impact on those watching. Not an old and weakened-looking man and a fragile little girl. The older man grimaced, partially at the blonde's words, and partially at the redhead tailing behind him and his daughter. He may be no empath who could read emotions, but even he could see that the girl had no sympathy for them. Unlike the blonde. She would have left me to die if it weren't for the boy. And all the more reason to be grateful to him.
This old man before you was once a blacksmith of considerable skill, one of the best actually. I was originally from Kiri, but I moved out when my son and his wife were killed during one of the bloodline hunts. My son was foolish enough to admit our ability to change the properties of certain metals, and that got him killed. Luckily my granddaughter was staying with me that day.
Naruto nodded at him to continue, significantly more interested now. I had wanted to have a good blacksmith for Uzushio later, but I didn't expect someone this good. Bless my luck. The old man's grimace deepened. I forged here too, as it was the only work I knew that could give us a comfortable life. And Nami being a major trade zone really made us well off. Until Gato came, that is, my peaceful life. Gone just like that. I would have agreed to forging for the bastards' thugs, but I knew that their demands were endless. No matter how low I bowed, they would want to lower me further, and would eventually take my granddaughter too. Naruto gave him a nod as he thought it over. You said you were from Kiri, any connection to the 7 legendary swords?
The old man chuckled a bit, his mood slightly lightened. Ha! Unfortunately for you I didn't forge them. I did help the creator change some of their properties though, he was a friend of mine.
That piqued Naruto's interest. He's alive. The grimace came back. Dead. Had a rare bloodline.
Naruto dipped his head in disappointment. How unfortunate. From what I've heard, those blades were truly legendary. I'm glad I will have one of the co-creators working for me though. Come, I will show you a base for you to work in.
2 hours later near Nami no Kuni Uzumaki's secret base.
This is magnificent. Truly I didn't expect to see such a unique talent in my lifetime. I'm honored to have met you, Naruto-san. The blonde chuckled and waved it off. The blacksmith had been shocked and awed at the fact that Naruto had built such large project within a day, and it was so masterfully done too. Kasumi is still working on a water source, after that you're pretty much settled him.
The old man nodded, something akin to excitement lighting up his withered face. Well, if this location is as secure as you say, I think I'll be able to work on the projects you leave me with, and teach my daughter my art before I pass on as well. Naruto smiled. You do that, we both know you're not going to live forever. Oh? And while you're at it, write down everything you teach her in scrolls. I don't have the time to be here with you and learn everything personally, but your bloodline and art fascinates me, and I would like to learn. The old man nodded. If you think you can learn everything from the scrolls, I will do so. I will add notes to clear the doubts my daughter has as well. In case you have the same later, you can look into it.
This time Naruto gave him a grin so warm that it would have made Kasumi's day had she seen it. Too bad for her, she was away working on the task he had assigned to her. Learning new things was Naruto's passion, and whenever he got a chance to learn something new, it made him giddy with excitement. Good. I'll give you a brief overview of this place once more. Keep in mind that you may not get much word from us for a while, but don't think we died or anything because of that. I may be back here in a few months to a year to take those scrolls and look over your assignment. Once he was sure the old man understood, the blonde started overviewing the details of the hideout. This is one of the primary bases meant to house us and our allies in times of emergencies. I built it recently, and hadn't expected it to be in use so soon, so it may still lack a few things. Let me know if you find any major flaw. I'll start now.
Taking a deep breath, he began his explanation. I'll give you a map to make sure you know where what is located. The location of the base itself is to be kept secret, as is the point of entry and exit, so it's not outlined in the map. If you come across a point that is not mentioned in your map, get away from it immediately. The entire area outside is under a permanent genjutsu-inducing seal that will make you ignore this location, so if you get out somehow, you can forget about getting in again. The old man gulped, making a note to keep an eye on his curious granddaughter.
There is a large greenhouse in the facility where you can find the vegetables, fruits and all kinds of vegetarian nutrition. No meat for you, as I want this hideout to be self-sufficient and easy to take care of.
Once again the old man nodded. He didn't desire any luxuries. Safety of his granddaughter was enough. Besides, a nutritious vegetarian diet was heavenly compared to being starved. That takes care of the food problem. Kasumi is taking care of water. Once she's done, there will be a constant flow of pure water in and out of this facility. For the energy source, I've left you with enough wood to last for 5 years. What else do you need? The old man smiled. I'm quite content, thank you. Although if you could arrange for quite a bit of metal, I'd be happy to start working on making weapons for your village too. Right now I have just enough to teach and forge a few things, but nothing on large scale.
Naruto nodded with a thoughtful look on his face. That will be harder to do, but I'll see if I can get it done.
Truth be told, he wasn't really worried about mass production of weapons. Once he got the art down, his shadow clones will be able to forge faster and more efficiently than the blacksmith ever could. It'd be best to let him work on the scrolls and teaching his granddaughter, so I have a skilled weaponsmith in Uzushigakure. And she's quite cute. Might grow into quite a beauty someday.
I swear your perversion knows no bounds, Naruto-kun.
The blonde shrugged mentally. You're the one to blame, Kai-chan. I've only started lusting after blood and sex so uncontrollably since your soul started fusing into mine. The demoness's sweat dropped. I'll have you know that lust is all your own. I only ever had intense feelings of hatred and bloodlust. Shh, whatever. He turned around as his red-haired sister came down the hallway. They were standing in. I'm done, Onirai-chan.
Good. Come now, let's leave Blacksmith-san to work.
The little girl, who had been hiding behind her grandfather until now, shyly waved at him too. Bye, Onirai-chan. Thank you for saving us. Kasumi, who had been indifferent to the duo till now, felt an unexpected wave of jealousy in her chest at the girl's words. Her hand twitched to slit the girl's throat, but she refrained because her brother wouldn't want her to do that. She doesn't even know him. Only I should get to call him that. Wait, what the fuck? Did I just get jealous of a little girl who's not even hit puberty yet? What's wrong with me? It was at that moment that Naruto knew they had to leave immediately. Come, Kasumi. As they left with the little girl yelling goodbyes to them, the blacksmith sighed in sadness. Hopefully, he will at least ask for our names the next time he visits us.
Bridge Builder's House Nami no Kuni.
Natsumi grumbled as she finished setting up the perimeter seals around the house. All good enough to last for a month, but no further. Just like her mother had instructed. It wasn't that hard, considering most of the barrier seals were pre-prepared by Kushina and detection seals by Nina. This place is so small compared to our compound. I don't know how we're going to live here for more than a day, especially if Naruto does what he usually does. Well, I'm done with the task given to me. Gotta go tell Ka-chan. She was still grumbling when she bumped into her mother on her way to the ground floor. You're done with setting up the seals around the house. Yes, I know. The blonde girl gave her mother a long-suffering sigh as she was dragged upstairs into an empty room. This is...
Once again, she was interrupted by her mother. The room where you set up the privacy seals, I know.
Natsumi rolled her eyes. Okay, what now? Kushina stared at her daughter for a few seconds before replying. Now, you go work on the 2 seals I gave you. Or did you forget already? Me and Nina-san have already done our respective parts of the seals. We're just waiting for you and Kasumi to finish. You should pay special attention. Kasumi is almost done too. She would have finished already if she hadn't been doting half the time on Naruto.
Natsumi once again could only roll her eyes. She had pointed that out to Kasumi, but only received a look that questioned her sanity. Clearly, for the redhead, there was no one higher on the priority list than her twin. I know, I'm not that good with Fuinjutsu yet, but I'm trying.
Kushina gave her daughter a warm smile. That's all I ask for. Now get to work. Slave driver? Kushina just smirked and walked out of the room, leaving Natsumi by herself to work on the seals. I do wonder where she's going. It's not like this is a particularly big place. That's when her eyes widened. Oh crap, I forgot about Ajiha-chan. Gotta find her first, then I'll come back to work on these seals. It took her less than 3 seconds to find the little girl they'd picked up on their way to the Brig Builder's house. The reason being that she was standing right outside the room Natsumi walked out of.
Ah, there you are. Natsumi smiled brightly upon seeing the girl. What are you doing out here?
The girl looked up with big, teary eyes. I tried to go in, but I can't. Oh. She must have been following Ka-chan, and the privacy seals prevented her from entering the room since they have only Kaya-chan, and my siblings keyed in. Sorry about that, Ajiha-chan. Let's get you settled in here. Come with me. Promptly forgetting the strangeness of not being able to enter a room, even though there was nothing blocking her, since the gate still opened, the girl proceeded to follow her Wani-chan back downstairs and into the kitchen. Tsunami-san. The brunette jumped in surprise as she hadn't noticed anyone entering the kitchen. She briefly took notice of the 5-year-old girl following the teenager before answering hesitantly. Hello. I'm Uzumaki Natsumi, Tsunami-san, and this is Ajaha-chan. The girl in question gave a cheerful wave. Having eaten delicious apples till her tummy was full, her mood was at an all-time high. The blue-haired woman nodded with a smile on her lips. Nice to meet you both. Yeah, well, I was wondering if you could take care of Agaha-chan from now on. We'd love to, but as I'm sure you're aware of it by now, we have a job to do here, so we'll be busy. Tsunami pursed her lips in a thin line as she nodded. I understand. I will do my best. Truth be told, she didn't want to. It wasn't that she didn't like kids, but they simply didn't have the resources to support more people. Given there were so many like Agaha still starving out in Nami no Kuni, she didn't know why the kunoichi had picked this particular girl up and brought her here. It pained her to admit it, but it was the truth. But if I don't accept any of their demands, no matter how unreasonable, then they might be annoyed. And Kushina-san already told us she will just leave if that happens. Thank you, Tsunami-san. Take good care of her. I'll try to help when I can.
Then the blonde girl turned to the smallest occupant of the house. Be a good girl and listen to Tsunami-san. Could you do that for your Oni-chan?
The small girl nodded enthusiastically, keen to impress the older girl in any way possible. With a few pats to the little girl's head, Natsumi walked back upstairs to work on her finjutsu arrays as instructed by Kushina.
Agaya looked extremely proud to have received pats on her head. She basked in the pride, chest puffed up and glazed eyes with a smug smile, as smug as a 5-year-old can be. I made Oni-chan proud.
Tsunami sagged in a nearby chair as the little girl stood in front of her, still basking in pride. She's going to need a lot of work.
Having dropped Agaya off in Tsunami's care, Natsumi was now kneeling on the floor with 3 small cigarette-like scrolls in front of her. She touched all 3 of them briefly, channeling her chakra into them, and they enlarged to roughly the same size as that of Konoha's forbidden scroll. Setting the ones labeled Umi Fuinen, Uzumaki Keke aside, she shrunk the 3rd one back before putting it in one of her breast pockets. Okay, so let's see. First I should focus on the birth seal, Umi Fuen, since it's closer to being complete. With that decision made, the blonde girl shrunk the scroll labeled Uzumaki Keke and put it back in her pocket as well.
She opened the scroll labeled Umai Fine, and her eyes almost bulged out of her head at what she saw. What the fuck? Kasumi finished her part of the array, but when? The whole day yesterday, she was with Naruto getting the hell fucked out of her. That's just not fair.
She raged for a few minutes before calming down and crying big comic tears. Okay, let's see. This seal is meant to increase the chances of survival of an Uzumaki mother from 50% to 90% when she gives birth. Nina-san's array will keep her chakra stabilized and directed at the places where it's needed to be without putting stress on the mother. Ka-chan's part will keep the pain completely isolated from the mother, and Kasumi's part, how did she manage to pull this off anyway? Sigh. Okay, I just have to make sure I create a seal that can heal the mother without her bloodline and with minimum consumption of chakra, without harming the baby.
She heaved a long, suffering sigh once again. And I have no idea how to go about doing that. Her field was the one of the most obscure in the Finjutsu arts. Healing seals weren't delved into that much, even by the Uzumaki. They rarely ever got into battles, and had naturally good healing which made such seals less than needed. Only Naruto's field, combat-type sealing, was more obscure than hers. I wonder how good he is at them. Probably pretty decent since Ka-chan said he was master level, even by our standards. I still have a little bit more to work on before I get there. But I have no idea how.
She frowned. I can't think like that. Before Nina-chan came along, Ka-chan didn't have that many Fuinjutsu scrolls from the original Uzumaki, and even then she rediscovered a great number of secrets. I will have to do the same. Once I'm done with this, I will have to start on the barrier seal around the new Uzushiogakure no Sato.
It was almost time for dinner when Naruto and Kasumi arrived at the bridge builder's house, And almost immediately Kasumi decided to excuse herself. I have to go work on something. Anue-chan. Seeing Naruto's confused look, she decided to elaborate. All of us have been working on 2 new seals, one of which is the new barrier seal we plan on building around Uzushio when we get there. Naruto narrowed his eyes. And why was I not included in this use? Kasumi flinched under his narrowed gaze. I'm sorry, Onnesi-chan. Ka-chan asked us not to tell you so we can surprise you later. And the other seal is something only girls can understand. I didn't plan to hide it from you despite what Ka-chan said, but the topic never came up.
The blonde gazed at her contemplatively as if judging her before he gave her a satisfied nod. Fine, but don't expect to get away from this unpunished.
Seeing as Kasumi was torn between being excited or scared at his words, Naruto decided perhaps that wasn't the best thing to say. Okay, that confirms it. Kasumi is definitely into BDSM. Chapter end.
A big thank you to everyone who stayed until now, and I hope you'll continue to enjoy this in the future as well.
Let me know what you think about it. You won't believe the kind of crap I had to go through to make sure this chapter is finished and uploaded today itself. Anyway, here's the next chapter. Hope you enjoy it. Disclaimer: the newspaper isn't mine.
Chapter 24, Overture.
Bridge Builder's House Kitchen Nami no Kuni. Once Kushina had left them alone, Tazuna moved on to work on the plans for construction of his bridge, and Tsunami had moved on to attend to her duties as well. These duties included making sure her guests had proper living conditions and got enough food to satisfy their hunger. And there came the problem: eatable food wasn't exactly commonly available in Nami no Kuni these days. What she had right now could barely be described as harmless, and the quantity available wasn't sufficient either. Tsunami frowned as she tried to think of a way to make the things she had managed to buy from the market into something that would taste better than raw sewage.
San spent most of our money on getting that mission. Even though it was necessary, I can't imagine how we're going to pull through now, especially with so many people to feed. I could have managed with just 4 extra people, but 8 is too much, and I'm not even counting the little girl. Just as she was about to bang her head against the kitchen wall repeatedly, a pair of arms wrapping around her waist caused her to almost jump right out of her skin. Kya.
Need help? A voice huskily whispered in her ear. It took her a few moments to regain her composure and realize that the person behind her was none other than the blonde boy from the team that came to help them. She was about to ask him to let her go before she remembered Kushina's warning. I have to be nice to them, especially him, or everything San did will be gone in an instant. And no, I'm doing just fine. Making dinner for everyone. The woman shifted slightly in an attempt to hide the raw materials for dinner from the boy's sight. If he saw them before she's done cooking, he'd never eat it.
Naruto hummed in thought as he rested his chin on her shoulder, idly tracing her flat belly with his hand. She's got a real good figure. Considering she's just a civilian, she must be really gifted, or maybe she works really hard for it.
His gaze traveled then to the preparations Tsunami was making for their dinner, and he had to suppress a grimace. Tsunami-san, do you think you can make something edible out of this? What is this stuff anyway? I only barely recognize the half-dried potatoes, but I've got no idea what the rest of this stuff is.
Tsunami flinched, the blush she had been developing as she felt the blonde pressed firmly against her back and his hand tracing her belly disappeared in an instant, and dread crept into her at having potentially upset the blonde. I'm sorry, our market is doing very poorly right now, and our financial condition isn't anything to boast about either. Please forgive me.
The brunette wasn't sure if it was a good thing or a bad thing when the blonde detached himself from her and wandered around the kitchen, looking for something. I don't suppose you have a kitchen garden or something like that, do you? Confused by the question, she just nodded. We do have it, but it's way back out of the back entrance.
The blonde just gave her a nod. Take me there. The brunette was still shocked as she chopped the fresh vegetables with unsteady hands. The blonde had created the vegetables she needed for the dinner, though she wasn't sure if they could be called vegetables.
I don't know how to thank you enough for this. The blonde just smirked as he moved towards her like a predator stalking its prey. Actually, I have a few ideas. For the second time that day, she felt him press against her back, and once more his arms went around her waist. One of his hands parted her shirt and snaked inside, resting firmly against her now bare belly. Another hand squeezed her breast, thankfully from over her clothes. Kia!
Naruto chuckled as he withdrew after coping a good feel.
Tsunami tried to get her blush under control before she started speaking, but gave it up as a lost cause. Not that I'm not very grateful for this, but why does this, whatever this is, look like a crocodile and snake hybrid with octopus tentacles, and what the fuck is that?
I think it's a special cucumber. And there are some things you just don't ask.
The blue-haired woman just stared at him blankly. No part of that thing looked like a cucumber. It's his penis, by the way. Or so I think. He winced when Tsunami immediately cut it off and threw it into the garbage bin.
Needless to say, the tree structures from the Forest of Death weren't exactly domestic, and apple was the only normal tree Naruto had gotten hold of. I just hope they taste good, or better than half-dried potatoes at least.
Uzumaki. Compound Kanahagakure, no Sato. Byakugan.
It had taken her a while to regain consciousness after Naruto and the other girls had left, but once she'd woken up her fear had come true. The loneliness that had haunted her for years before she met her lover had come back to torture her once more.
Having already completed recording all the Fenjutsu she knew into the Uzumaki library, Mina was left with nothing to do as she stared off into space, waiting for the others to come back. That had lasted for half an hour before she realized that it might take days, so she might as well do something productive.
When she decided to start practicing her dojutsu to see what kind of improvements she might have gotten through her bond with Naruto, her boredom promptly vanished.
While before forming the bond with Naruto, her Byakugan could see up to 10 miles all around her. Now the range was virtually limitless as long as she kept channeling more and more chakra into her dojutsu. She'd already known that the chakra cost will be much lower, and that her range was going to increase, but she hadn't expected the improvement to be of this extent. Not only that, but the clarity with which she could now see chakra also improved drastically, allowing her to guess what kind of jutsu the chakra was being used for.
That was the primary reason why she was currently drawing one of her more powerful Fuinjutsu arrays meant to completely neutralize the target's chakra system for a good few hours, and it worked for even the high cage level opponents. Those hours will be more than enough time needed to apply more complex and time-consuming permanent Fuinjutsu on the captured enemy.
The downside of the seal was it only worked for an hour once it was made, and took nearly 20 minutes to create. Hence, she could only use it in specific conditions, such as the current one.
Well, I don't personally care if someone decides to spy on Konoha, but that girl's chakra levels are almost cage level, which means she's at least a somewhat important person wherever she came from. If I manage to capture her, then who knows what kind of valuable information I can get out of her. Not to mention a good bargaining chip for the future. No one from Konoha is gonna miss her, and outsiders will assume she was found out by Konoha and taken care of accordingly.
Giggling to herself, the redhead finished her fine jutsu and headed out of the compound. Kunai-chan! The Inuzuka was shocked, to say the least, when a pair of breasts pressed into her back, and she was spun around casually to face the person responsible. Anko pouted as she looked at her friend. I looked all over Konoha for you half an hour ago. I can't believe you were right here, and I couldn't find you. Rin tried to form a verbal response, but was still too shocked at the fact that someone had actually dared to manhandle her like that, and still have the balls, or boobs in this case, to stay in front of her and act like nothing had happened.
Blinking a few times, she realized that perhaps Kurenai had changed into a friendly woman instead of the rather detached girl she remembered. Ah well, I'll have to improvise with the situation here. Now who might this be? Purple hair, Yugao. No, Azuki won't behave like this even if someone threatened to shove a cactus up her ass, or even dress like this unless she had a complete personality change, which is unlikely. Orochimaru's apprentice then. What was her name again? Dango.
Hi, Dango-chan.
For a moment Rin was worried that she might have blown her cover and now have to fight her way out of Konoha, but then Enko started to pout about how she didn't like being called Dango, even though she loved that sweet food. Phew, that was close. I like my name okay. So please call me Enko-chan, or Enko-kwan, not Dango. Kurenai just smiled brightly at her friend. Whatever you say, Enko-kwan. Well, I've got to be going now, got a mission. The purple-haired Kunoichi opened her mouth as surprise before squealing. Ah, that was so cute how you said my name just now. I can't believe you did it, you're so serious usually. I could have sworn you were a completely different person if I didn't know any better.
Rin chuckled nervously. Why yeah. I'm getting late for the mission now, so.
Enko blinked before grinning sheepishly. "Kay, sorry for making you late. I'll see you later then. Bye." "See ya," she sighed in relief once Enko was gone. Thank goodness she's an airhead.
That's when she saw a flash of red hair turning around in a nearby ally. An Uzumaki. No, they're not the only ones with red hair. But still, maybe I should check it out. This person feels like they have high chakra reserves too. Wouldn't hurt to make sure. Makes no sense to go looking for them all the way to Nami no Kuni, if they've already returned from their mission.
Nodding to herself, she casually started walking towards where she'd seen the person turn. As soon as she'd entered the ally though, there was a movement of red in front of her before a palm slammed into her chest.
What? So fast? And so sudden. But this won't be enough to take me down.
Nina felt a wave of apprehension hit her when the girl didn't seem to panic. Stay down, it's over. She calmed down somewhat as the disguised Kunoichi staggered back in shock when she couldn't channel her chakra.
Ugh, you.
No way, this is Fuinjutsu, at a whole different level from what I've ever seen. Nina smiled in relief as she picked her hostage up and shunshined the two of them close to Uzumaki compound barrier, and then proceeded to dash hastily till she was inside the barrier. She sighed in relief once she was inside the compound. Well, that was easy. I'd feared a tough battle if anything had gone even slightly wrong. I don't fancy creating that kind of fuss inside this village, or I'd be royally screwed. That's when her hostage seemed to chuckle in mirth, making her wonder what the girl was thinking that could make her chuckle in this situation. Odds of her getting out of this unscathed were minimal to none. Why what's your name? The lavender-eyed girl shook her head. Who I am, where you are, that doesn't concern you right now. What you should be worried about is, what will I do now? Will you tell me everything you know so I can let you live, or should I force it out of you and then get rid of you? Rin closed her eyes as she chuckled again. You don't get it. I know a little bit of who you are, and where I am already. You're an Uzumaki, and I'm in your compound. Well, I've gotta say, thanks for the trip, but I gotta go now. Bye.
That's when a white Finjutsu array began crawling out of her clothes, till it was completely covering her body. A moment later, she was gone.
Nina could only gape, shocked so profoundly that she couldn't even jump in surprise when the girl disappeared. A reverse summoning, but there's no way, did my seal fail?
She couldn't possibly have set any kind of distress signal for anyone to be able to reverse summon her with her chakra being sealed. No one noticed us. I was careful enough to check it thoroughly with my Baikugan. How did they know then? Arashi's hideout, unknown, location. Rin sighed in relief when she appeared right in front of Arashi. Shit! I can't believe that just happened. She collapsed, clutching her throat in pain. Please. Stop, I can explain.
The man gave her a disgusted grunt. You better do. If I hadn't put that reverse summoning seal on you meant to activate as soon as you're rendered immobile and unable to use chakra, what kind of situation would you be in right now? I'd meant it to activate in case Kushina defeated you and you passed out or something, but never would I have imagined it would activate so soon. What the fuck happened? Struggling to stand up due to the pain as well as her chakra still being sealed, the Inuzuka took a moment to calm herself. When I was leaving Konoha after gathering information of Kushina Uzumaki's current location, I saw what I thought was an Uzumaki and decided to check and see if she'd returned from her mission or if my information was incorrect. The brown-haired man nodded at her to continue. It's not her nature to fail me, I do hope she had a valid reason. Finding people loyal to my cause isn't easy these days. Rin mentally thanked the heavens. Arashi might trust her the most among his subordinates, but that didn't mean she expected him to be forgiving when she failed. She knew how cruel he could be when angered. But as soon as I'd rounded a corner, she attacked me out of nowhere and sealed my chakra before I even knew what happened.
She hadn't even finished her sentence before she was smashed into the wall behind her so hard that she lost consciousness.
TCH, only Mito can take my hits without passing out these days. I can't believe my most loyal follower is such a weakling. But then again she had her chakra sealed, so I can't blame her for not being able to take a hit. With a wave of his hand, a nearby door slid open and a couple of medics entered. Rin regained consciousness a few minutes later, having been given the basic treatment by the medics. Once the medics had left, he gazed at his follower calmly. I must apologize for my reaction, Rin-chan. I'm simply not used to such pathetic behavior from you. Not only did you get taken out with seemingly no effort, you were also caught off guard. Does that suit a kunoichi of your caliber? The Inuzuka held her head down in shame. Arashi shook his head. It wasn't something he was happy about, but it wasn't a complete loss either. But it's fine. You still bought some valuable information to me. So there was an Uzumaki girl who escaped my notice for so long, and she's cage level if she was able to take you out, luck or no luck. And your style isn't to dodge hits, so you're not suited for battle with the type of Fuinjutsu masters who apply seals to their opponents' bodies during a fight.
The brown-haired girl bit her lip as Arashi stood up from his place.
She's of no consequence though. The only ones I'm interested in are Kushina-chan and one of her daughters. Their chakra is very precious, you see. Aside from Mito-chan, they're the only ones who can mold chakra strong enough to hold down a biju. That chakra cannot be allowed to be out of my control for too long.
Now you go rest. That Finjutsu will wear off with time. Once you've recovered, continue your mission to assess Kushina-chan's skills. Luckily for you, Kushina-chan is a Kekkei Finjutsu user, so she'll mostly only use seals on the surroundings.
Once the Rin had walked out of his chamber, the treacherous Uzumaki sat down and rubbed his temple as a migraine began developing itself. Bring Mito here.
Due to the bond between him and Mito being made by force, it only sustained him for so long before he needed her chakra again to maintain his youth. Even a single day without her chakra would age him by a month, which was the reason he didn't have her do various tasks for him. Tasks like testing Kushina's skills, which would definitely suit Mito much more than Rin, given she was on a whole different level from Kushina. And the risk of her breaking free from me is too high. I can't take risks with someone of her level. If she breaks free, I'm not sure if even I can take her down without the element of surprise being on my side this time. And even if I manage to do it, there's no guarantee that I won't be suffering from permanent damage afterwards.
And if somehow, anyhow, Mito is able to suppress my orders long enough for Kushina to kill her, then I'll lose the only source of immortality I have for now. I know that bitch isn't too keen on living since she lost everything, so I can't ignore that possibility. If that happens, I'll live at most a year or two before I die. I've lived well past my time already, but there's just no one else who can do what I have to do. I'm the last full-blooded Senju after all. Mito's granddaughter Tsunade had the potential to do it, but her Senju blood had been diluted since her mother was a clan-less kunoichi, and her father was only half Senju because of Mito. It would have been fine if he'd inherited something from the Uzumaki girl in the process, but unfortunately he didn't. That left Tsunade as only a quarter Senju. At the moment, he was the only one who could be trusted with the task of bringing peace to the world. The Rakudo Sennin believed the Senju would bring peace, and I will fulfill that destiny. No matter the cost.
He grinned when the crimson-haired Uzumaki girl he leeched life on a daily basis from entered his chamber. Hello Mito-chan. How was your day? Mito just glared at him with contempt.
The dark-haired man smirked. Ah, not happy with me I take it. Mito's glare darkened further. Arashi, one day I won't be bound with these seals you've tricked onto me, and that day you will regret everything. I'll make you pay for what you did. The self-proclaimed Nadaime Rakudo Sennin looked at her in disappointment. Revenge? Really? I thought you were better than that. Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Seimei Hiru. Uzumaki sealing technique. Life leeching. He sighed in relief as the girl's calming energy started flowing through him, aging his body back and filling him with the vitality the Uzumaki were known for. Mito gritted her teeth as her blood felt like it was boiling within her veins. Her beautiful crimson hair lost some of its color, a few of its strands fading into white before regaining their color once more as her bloodline restored her vitality, only for it to be leached off once again. "Be bastard, you don't even deserve to use that technique." Arashi chuckled at her broken and raspy voice. While the technique felt pleasurable to him, it was the exact opposite for Mito. The Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Our mother and father taught it to us with such high hopes, why would I waste it and not use it when I could?
You're not even an Uzumaki, Arashi.
The dark-haired man shrugged. Not by blood, but you know as well as I do that our parents never considered me as an outsider. I'm as much deserving of using these techniques as you.
Mito grimaced in pain. Not after you betrayed your entire clan and lead to their deaths, you don't.
I had my reasons, Mito-chan. And remember what Ka-chan used to say. No matter what we do, we'll always be her children. So now quit your whining or you'll just make the pain worse, not that I particularly care. Ah, and be prepared for the Kurushimi Kutsu for thinking you can talk back to me and get away with it.
The redhead grunted as her pain intensified. This bastard is so casual about having killed his own parents, those who loved him throughout their lives even though they hadn't given him birth. Just how ungrateful can a person be? Uzumaki Arashi. No. Senju Arashi, one day, I will kill you. First floor. Tazuna's house, Nami no Kuni. Kakashi groaned in agony as he regained consciousness. Ah, what the hell hit me? It took him a few minutes to regain enough sense of self to remember the events that had led to his current condition. That's right, Zabuza hit me. A heavy defeated groan later, he was left wondering what the hell he was thinking when he decided to continue the mission. Damn it, how could I have almost died like that? I didn't even put up that much of a good fight. If any of my old squad mates from Ambu found out about this, I'd never be able to show my face around them. He sweat dropped. I wouldn't show my face either way though, so it's okay.
His eye narrowed as some of the events became clearer. Somehow I was feeling so dizzy while fighting Zabuza, and my chakra control wasn't as good as it's supposed to be either. I was poisoned, but when?
He tried to recall anything that could have led to his poisoning, but strangely came up with a blank. Groaning in disappointment, he dragged himself out of the mattress and decided to go ask questions to whoever the Hawkage had sent as a backup team. Ground floor. Tazuna's house, Nami no Kuni. Naruto rubbed his hands together with a big grin on his face as Tsunami set the food down in front of them. He finally get to taste what the mysterious dish made from crocus nakoumber, crabarumato, deno eggplant, and the barely lethal radish tasted like. Thank you, Tsunami-san. It looks delicious. Tsunami blushed as she continued to serve. Naruto didn't notice. Hasumi narrowing her eyes at the woman. Why do I feel this way? It's strange. I didn't feel like this when he was nice to One-chan, Ka-chan, and Nina-chan. But whenever he's smiling at someone else, I feel like strangling that someone else to death. Is this jealousy? All thought left her as she paled when the dinner was served in front of her. What is tea? This.
Naruto blinked at her. It's our dinner, Kasumi. Now eat up.
Kushina stared at the strange food for a moment before shrugging. She'd eaten stranger things on missions. This does remind me of the meal I had during my chaining exams, though. Ah, those good old days when the entire village didn't hate me for housing their Jinchuriki, but instead hated me for being a foreign bitch who seduced their resident genius shinobi.
Bah, who am I kidding? They weren't good at all. I was so stupid back then to try and get their approval, if only passively. I remember I even considered trying for the position of the Hokage before I was told only people born in Konoha can try it. Which was their way of saying I'm a foreigner they'll never trust. Whatever, I'll make them regret it, all of it.
Itadakimasu. Kasumi gaped as Naruto and Kushina proceeded to eat that thing, as if it was the most normal dinner in the world. Naruto grinned at the blue-haired woman after gulping down a particularly large bite. It really is delicious. You're a good cook, Tsunami-san. His twin sister was too busy staring at her dinner with horror to even hear him right then. It was smirking at her. The dinner was mocking her. Natsumi wasn't faring much better either.
Sasuke closed his eyes as he once more glanced at the disgusting-looking dish served to him. He would have eaten the simplest food given. He wasn't the type to want luxuries. All he wanted was to be strong enough to face Itachi. But this food, if it even qualified to be called that, was well beyond his tolerance level. I refuse to eat this filth.
Tsunami looked hurt as Sasuke stood up and left. Ami looked a bit green as she hesitantly cut out a small bite of her plate, but her face immediately brightened as it touched her tongue. From then on, she proceeded to eat with gusto. Sakura was still unconscious upstairs. I'll pretend I'm eating, but I'll throw the food away stealthily. Kasumi smirked at the food, whose smirk faded as it realized its imminent fate. With a vicious stab of her fork and knife, Kasumi tore a huge chunk of the crocusnakamumber. She could have sworn it had wailed in pain when she tore it, making her wonder why the same didn't happen with the others eating around the table. Is mine the only one that's alive?
Shrugging, she brought the chunk of the abomination near her mouth like she was going to eat it before quickly changing its trajectory and throwing it backwards so that it would go out of the window.
The girl grinned in triumph. If I had refused to eat, Onoe-chan wouldn't have been happy since he gave these things to the Blue Wonder. I'll just clean the mess out of the window when no one is looking and I won't have to eat this. I don't have to worry being hungry. Ona-chan will feed me later anyway. Kakashi scoffed as he looked at the stairs he'd just defeated. They never stood a chance, trying to hold back the copy. Ninja Kakashi, eh? Fools.
The struggle was grueling, but Kakashi had managed to limp his way downstairs. He briefly wondered what kind of team the Hokage had sent as backup that didn't even bother making someone watch over him while he was sleeping. He grunted as Sasuke came storming his way and bumped his shoulder, and then he proceeded upstairs without even bothering to check who he had bumped into.
Kakashi! Grunted in pain as his injuries were disturbed. Sunovovich, that hurt! Am I invisible? Or what? Sir! The Uchiha stopped in surprise as he heard his name being called by a familiar voice. Kakashi-sensei, you're up already.
Kakashi briefly debated reprimanding Sasuke for his careless bumping, but decided against it. Yes, now mind telling me what's the situation right now?
Yes, well, the Hokage sent Team 11 as our backup, though we didn't need them. Their sensei has taken charge of the mission and has been ordering us around since she came here. That bitch, he mentally added. I see?
The silver-haired Jonin closed his eyes as he contemplated what he'd just been told. So Hokage-sama sent Kushina-chan's team here to help me. Is he trying to get her to warm up to me again? If so, I sure hope this works and doesn't backfire somehow. When he finally reached all the way down, his sweat dropped at the sight. Everyone around the dinner table, ninja or not, was busy eating the food as if it was the most wonderful delicacy they had ever tasted, with the exception of two girls. What made it weird was that the food looked like some horribly mutilated animal-vegetable mix. That's when something wet slapped him on the face, making him stumble back and fall. He recoiled in horror at the mutilated face with the wailing expression the crocodile snake thing had made before it had died.
Chidori!
Tsunami stood up in alarm as she finally noticed Kakashi's arrival amongst them. Wait, Kakashi-san, you mustn't overexert yourself. That's when the lightning in Kakashi's hand died down without having fulfilled its original purpose of destroying the abomination that had dared attack the copy ninja, and Kakashi stumbled back with a pained groan.
Natsumi grinned as she stood up from her seat, relieved that something had saved her from having to eat the rather questionably disgusting dinner. Stay right there, Kakashi-san, I'll take a look at your injuries.
She diagnosed him for a minute before shaking her head. As I said before, you can't use chakra for at least a few weeks, or until you get treatment from a more skilled medic. I'm not very experienced yet. If you still persist in using chakra, you might end up permanently damaging your chakra coils. Luckily for you, nothing seems to have happened this time, but don't go pushing your luck. Truth is, if he keeps channeling chakra, his body will heal at a faster rate, and then he'll be in working condition soon. But if he follows my instructions now, he'll be out of it for much longer.
The cycloptic Jonin grunted in phantom pain in his coils from having used his Chidori while his body couldn't afford the strain. I understand. Wait till Konoha before using chakra. Got it.
Natsumi sighed sadly as she realized she would have to go back to eating her dinner again. Resigning herself to the fate, she sat down and began chewing on the food half-heartedly. It doesn't taste so bad, but I can't get over how disgusting it looks.
Kakashi once more limped towards an empty seat after recovering, the one between Sasuke and Tsunami. Kushina-chan.
He ignored the chilling glare from the woman. Since Gato will most likely be hiring high-level missing nin again, I think it would be better if you took this bingo book and leafed through it once. Kushina ignored the booklet Kakashi placed in front her and continued eating. Naruto meanwhile was interested in it, so he picked it up and decided to look through it later. Interesting, this is a newer version than the one I last saw. I doubt any new threats might have sprung up, but it doesn't hurt to know any potential enemies.
The copy ninja grumbled at blatantly being ignored by the kunoichi. Okay, so I was Sensei's student, obviously, and she's still angry at him for having sealed the kibi in her children. Just how long does she plan on holding on to that anger? It's not like I did anything against her or anyone she cares about.
He let his gaze wander idly and ignored the food Tsunami placed in front of him. Okay, that blonde girl they found in Wave definitely grew a lot hotter while I wasn't looking. I wish I was awake while she was performing the medical inspection, he giggled. Kasumi hasn't changed one bit. Look at those long luscious legs, that oh so sexy figure, and those delicious red lips I'd love to kiss. Hot damn, I can't wait till Jiraiya-sama gets a look at her and writes a few books on her. I bet they'll be wonderful to read. He somehow managed to control his growing urge to ogle Kushina too. Mustn't think perverted about Sensei's widow. I'll just have to satisfy myself with these two girls.
Had anyone noticed him eye-raping the two girls, he would have been in more trouble than Jiraiya in a women's hot spring, but luckily for Kakashi, no one noticed as they were preoccupied.
Tsunami was smiling as she saw everyone enjoying her cooking. It was hard to make something edible out of the dangerous vegetable animal things Naruto had given her, but she'd managed. It was nice to see mostly everyone liked it. And that the food didn't end up eating everyone, like she had feared. Naruto looked at the woman in confusion. Aren't you going to eat anything, Tsunami-san?
The brunette looked in surprise at the blonde boy before her smile returned. I'll eat after everyone is done, and father finishes drawing up his plans for the bridge. I'd rather not eat those things if it could be helped. I don't care if they taste okay or not, they're just creepy. The blonde pursed his lips. Nonsense, if you don't eat, then I'll make you eat. That's the least you deserve for having made all this. The blonde then proceeded to grab her by the waist and forcibly drag a spluttering tsunami with him. Once they reached his seat, he sat down first before making the woman sit on his lap. Before she could protest, she was being spoon-fed like a child by the blonde. Naruto grinned as his mother giggled, slightly amused by his behavior. Kasumi was still glaring, but now at Tsunami instead of the crocus Nakamura. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Natsumi looked too shocked to form a verbal response anytime soon. The rest of the dinner had passed by in relative silence, except for the splats made by the food Kasumi threw away. They were almost done with dinner when Kakashi broke the silence.
Kakashi cleared his throat to get some attention. So Kushina-chan, once more he ignored the death glare from the kunoichi. What do you plan to do now? Zabuza is still alive and might come back. The redhead set down her fork and knife before glaring at the Jonin. I'm here to do what you failed to do, Hitaki. Since you're out of commission and unable to defend yourself, I see no reason to hand over my mission plan to you when said information can be easily extracted from you by an enemy. And that will put me and my team in unnecessary danger. The silver-haired man cringed slightly at her tone, but nodded nonetheless. I suppose that makes sense. Could you tell me which problems you plan to take care of then, at least? I'm not asking for the full plan, just what you're going to focus on so I can instruct my team the best way possible. And I assure you I'm fully capable of keeping secrets, even if I can't defend myself. Kushina gave him no response, making Kakashi sigh in sadness. Fine then.
Naruto chuckled. Hey, Kakashi. We're just going to do what you failed so pathetically at doing. I don't know why you can't figure that out.
For a moment Kakashi wanted to glare at the blonde, but decided that doing so in front of an already pissed off Kushina was perhaps not best for his health. He turned towards Amy. Where's Sakura?
The black-haired girl finished chewing her last bite before answering his question. She's still upstairs recovering from the injury to her head. Kakashi closed his eye. He wasn't terribly impressed with the girl's lack of concern for her teammate. I see. Will you be taking command of my squad then, Kushina-chan?
This time Kushina just sighed in annoyance, not even bothering to glare the Jonin for using Chan with her name. Look Hitaki, I don't know much about them and quite frankly I don't care. My squad works best independently, and that's exactly how we'll be working. I don't care what you or your squad do, just stay out of the way and don't get killed.
Understood. But I think it'd be best if you take my squad's help when you confront whatever missing Ninjago will be hiring.
The redhead raised an eyebrow at the Jonin in surprise. Honestly Kakashi, I have no problem whatsoever if you decide to send your genin to their deaths. Go right ahead, but it'll be your responsibility, and yours alone. The Jonin gave her an eye smile. They're not as weak as you might think. Sasuke's ninjutsu, Sakura's genjutsu and Ami's taijutsu make for a deadly combination. As I said before, not my responsibility if they die. Do what you want with them.
Ami stood up from her seat with a smile. Thank you for the dinner, Tsunami-san. It was wonderful.
The woman sitting on Naruto's lap just nodded, slightly embarrassed at her situation. She wanted to point out the fact that Naruto had been the one to give her the materials needed for preparing the delicious diet, but the blonde boy had strictly forbidden her from telling anyone about it. Yes, she did admit to herself that the food was delicious after Naruto had forced her to taste it. Perhaps not the most visually appealing dish she'd seen, but definitely one of the better ones she'd made, taste-wise. Although, I'm not sure what his punishment was going to be if I didn't do it. That just scares me even more. For the short while she'd known the boy, the blonde had made it abundantly clear with his casual comments and touches that he was sexually interested in her. Of course, he behaved the same way around his own sisters and even mother, so it could be just his personality quirk.
Kakashi stood up from his seat slightly, awkwardly due to his injuries. Come Sasuke, need to be well rested? From tomorrow you'll need to train to face Sabuza. You too, Amai. Don't go to bed too late. The black-haired girl looked at her sensei hesitantly. Where am I supposed to sleep again? The silver-haired Jonin looked at the girl in confusion. With us, of course. Is there a problem?
Amy blushed furiously. No way in hell. I'd rather sleep right here instead.
But Sakura is in the same room as well. I don't see why you don't want to join us.
Tsunami bit her lip. I'm sorry, Amy-chan, but we only have 2 rooms upstairs that you guys can take, and the other one is already taken, so. Amy looked depressed. Oh.
Kushina looked at the black-haired girl with a calculating gaze. I'll let you stay with us under the condition that you won't disturb any of us in any of our activities, and won't create any type of fuss. Got it? The girl looked at her with eyes shining in gratefulness. Why, yes, thank you. Kakashi looked at her in exasperation. Wait, I don't understand how that's any better. Instead of staying with your own team, you're going to be staying in a room of the same size, with more people already in it. And they too have a boy in their team too, if you haven't noticed. It's the one who's groping Tsunami-san as we speak. Good job on that, by the way.
Naruto grinned. I hate your guts, Hatake, but thanks.
Kakashi just gave him an eye smile. Ami huffed. All of them are girls except Naruto-kun, and I think I can trust him.
The Jonin sighed. Sakura will be resting in the same room, Amy, and I think we've been together long enough for you to be able to trust. Kushina held a hand up to stop his speech. That's enough, Kakashi. Trust isn't something that develops over time for no reason. And just what are you trying to do, forcing a 12-year-old girl to sleep in the same room as you?
Kakashi cringed. I didn't mean it like that. I simply wanted to understand her reasoning.
The crimson-haired woman grunted. Whatever, it's decided then. Amy will stay with us in our room, and the rest of Team 7 takes the other room.
Ami grinned happily. Thank you, Kushina-sensei.
Kakashi looked at his student with disappointment clear in his eyes. He prided himself for his team spirit, but it seemed like one of his students hadn't got that lesson through her head yet. Tsunami stood up from Naruto's lap, still blushing slightly. I'll go wash the dishes. The blonde tapped Tsunami's butt while she walked away. Once she was out of his range, he stood up and stretched. Well, I'm going for a walk. Anyone wanna join me?
Kasumi was immediately by his side, with her arm linked through his own, and her lithe frame sticking against it. I'll come, Ani-chan. Naruto just smiled at his twin sister, and then looked directly at the black-haired girl. Wanna come too, Ami-chan? The girl's eyes widened, but she nodded, shocked that she'd been invited. Oh, okay. The girl jogged out of the house merrily, not noticing the disgusted glance thrown at her by her only male teammate.
TCH, she's so weak but still thinks she stands a chance with my future concubine.
Sasuke then stormed upstairs, followed shortly after by a limping Kakashi. Once Tsunami had taken the dishes back to the kitchen to wash them, Natsumi turned towards her mother.
Hey Ka-chan, should I add her chakra signature to the array?
Kushina shook her head. No. We're not giving her unrestricted access to our room. She's just going to be staying for tonight.
The blonde girl bit her lip. I know that she's Kasumi-chan's spy, but aren't we trusting her too much? Letting her stay with us for the night is, and have you considered the fact that Naruto might crave sex tonight, and Kasumi will allow it? She'll definitely see.
Kushina smirked deviously. Don't worry about it, dear. We're not trusting her with anything. Simply making her feel like we're doing her a huge favor, and trusting her with something really important, so she's more attached to us. The girl looked at her mother with narrowed eyes. Something really important. Don't tell me it's... Kushina smirked. You'll see. Ami bit her lip nervously as she watched Naruto hum some tune to himself as he walked through the woods at a sedate pace. Ami. The girl was startled momentarily by the blonde's voice but recovered quickly. Why, yeah? Naruto fixed her with a curious gaze while still walking. Tell me a bit about yourself if you don't mind. Once more she found herself biting her lip in nervously. Oh, okay. Well, I'm Ami, as you already know. Just a normal girl aspiring to be a strong kunoichi someday. I don't have any shinobi background and both my parents are civilians.
Naruto looked at her doubtfully. He may not have paid close attention before, but now that he didn't have much else to do he could clearly see her chakra reserves were just like any other clan heir he'd been in class with. While not outstanding, that seemed impossible for someone without shinobi parents. The first generation of shinobi in a family usually had to train exceptionally hard to extend their chakra coils enough to be able to perform ninjutsu properly, and even then their reserves usually ended up being subpar at best. Are you sure about that?
The girl blinked, not expecting that kind of question. What do you mean?
The blonde shrugged. Not his problem if Amy didn't know her parentage. And it couldn't be too interesting given there was nothing unusual about her appearance or chakra. Nothing. Never mind what I said. Suddenly Naruto held up his hand as he stopped walking. Shit, what is Takane doing leaving the censor girl to scout around like that? I just noticed her and she's easily within range to sense us all. Do you need advice, Naruto-kun? Actually yes. I'm not sure if I should trust that Kurama girl just yet, not to the extent we have already. What do you think, Q-chan? The vixen seemed to give him a mental shrug at the question. You may be right, but think about it. You've already informed her family's leaders of your plans, and trusted them with it.
The blonde sighed. They have no reason to leak that information. It's in our mutual benefit.
QB nodded. True. Do what you want, Naruto-kun. I don't claim to understand humans any more than you do. The blonde closed his eyes, contemplating his next action thoroughly. I'll give her this one chance. She doesn't have a reason to betray us, and she should know my mother can handle anything that can be thrown at her and come out on top. But still, I can no longer ignore her presence here. I have to go inform Ka-chan. Kasumi tightened her hold on his arm. Is everything alright, Oni-chan?
Naruto squeezed her body against his comfortingly. Yeah. Everything is fine. I just thought I heard something but it's nothing. Just wind probably.
The redhead nodded hesitantly, knowing something wasn't quite right but the information wasn't something that could be revealed in Ami's presence.
Naruto then looked at the two girls apologetically. Kasumi, I'm sorry. But I must go talk to my mother about something. You guys have a nice walk now. And don't take too long. I'll be waiting for you two in our room. Oh, and be careful.
Kasumi gave him a serious nod, knowing he meant it. Something was definitely bothering him. She kissed his cheek lovingly before he left.
Ami bit her lip with a blush. So, we're alone now.
The redhead inwardly suppressed a grimace. Whenever she had to do this, she couldn't help but feel the guilt worm its way deep inside her mind till it gave her a feeling as if she was betraying her brother. He knew all about this, and she didn't even do anything that could be considered as cheating, but yet she couldn't help but feel that way.
She managed to smirk seductively as she flipped her hair back, despite her inner turmoil. So we are. The dark-haired girl smiled. She got the feeling that Kasumi wasn't being completely honest with her, but she'd take what she was getting and be happy with it.
I was a good girl in front of your family, right?
The crimson-haired girl purred as she leaned against Ami's shoulder. But you must know something.
The dark-haired girl shuddered in pleasure as she felt hot breath brush against her cheek. So close.
What is it?
Kasumi almost pressed her lips against Ami's cheek, but they didn't make contact with her skin, remaining barely a millimeter apart. She could still feel the heat though. Me and Oni-chan have a very close relationship. You'll see what I mean tonight. You can't join us till he trusts you enough though.
Ami's throat went dry as she tried not to choke on her own breath. Wait. I think I just horribly misunderstood something. The angelic giggling of the redhead told her otherwise, though.
The redhead linked their arms together as she began dragging the other girl with her. Let's go back now, can't keep Oni-chan waiting for too long.
Ugh, I can't take this anymore today.
Warded room Tizuna's house.
Kushina raised an eyebrow at her son. You mean to tell me that Takane is here with an ambush squad for some reason, and there's a censor on her team? The blonde leaned back against the wall as he nodded at her. That's right. I'm not completely sure about her being a censor, but the way she channels her chakra is almost the same as another person I met on my journey, and she was a censor. The redhead bit her lip. Censors are a rare breed, Naruto-kun. For Sarutobi to spare one of the ambush censors, for whatever their mission is must mean. He's aiming for something big. And an ambu level as censor is a gem that almost no cage would willingly send on a mission without proper protection.
The blonde grunted. Their target is probably Ka-chan. Well, what do we do then?
Kushina sighed. I think we should just let them be for now. Maybe Takane will take care of them. If not, then we'll have to handle them when the time comes. We just don't have any excuse to attack a squad of Konoha Anbu until they attack us. If even one of them survives and escapes, we'll be hunted.
While right now I'm sure you guys can fend off any hunter Nin Konoha sends for us, we have much bigger problems that need more firepower than just the 5 of us. Things like Uchiha Madara and whoever he has on his side. We'll need allies Naruto-kun, and each one of them is important for our assured survival. Kurama clan is one of them, and to get them out safely we need to be a part of the village until the Chunin exams.
The blonde gave her an understanding nod. Got it, Ka-chan. Our plans for Gato.
The redhead smirked devilishly. No change there. We'll take over Gato's company, and if we're questioned we'll play it off as a part of our mission. Oh, and did I forget to mention killing him slowly and painfully? My bad.
The blonde chuckled. I know Kaya-chan is strong and can handle them, but it still pisses me off that they'd try something like that. That damn monkey is so gonna regret this someday. And what's taking Kasumi so long?
That's when the door clicked open and the redhead strode into the room, shortly followed by Amy. The blonde looked at Kasumi directly in the eyes before nodding towards Amy. The redhead bit her lip and gave him a nod. The dark-haired girl was confused by what they were signaling to each other about, but she didn't get to think much about it before her mind went blank. The crimson-haired girl she had a crush on was kissing her brother, right on the lips. And it wasn't a friendly kiss either, or the type of kiss a sister should share with a brother. It was a lover's kiss so full of passion and warmth that it could only be shared between people who trust each other explicitly.
She staggered back in shock as the twins continued to make out in front of her. What was even more surprising was the fact that their mother and elder sister were in the same room and didn't seem bothered by it in any way. What is this?
Naruto parted his lips from his twins, shifting his gaze to the black-haired girl. This is our little secret. We're trusting you with it, can you keep it?
Too shocked to speak, the girl could only nod numbly. What have I just seen? Okay, I have to calm down. First, Kasumi-chan clearly warned me what I will see will be shocking, so I should act more balanced. Second, so what if they like to kiss each other? It's not that weird. Who the fuck am I kidding? Of course it's weird.
Suddenly the breath was pushed out of her lungs as she collapsed on the floor. Oof. Startled and shocked, she tried to gasp for breath with some difficulty, but the weight on top of her prevented her from doing too well in that department. It took her a while to regain her senses, but when she did, she realized what exactly had happened. During the moments she'd been distracted by her shock, the twins had gone from gentle touching and kissing to heavy make-out. Somehow they ended up crashing into her, and either they didn't notice or didn't care as they continued to explore each other. She just watched in shock as her longtime crush moaned into her brother's mouth while she was being roughly groped and rapidly unclothed. And it was all happening on top of her. Damn, the two of them together sure hold some weight, though most of it is probably Naruto-kun's. What am I supposed to do, lie here like a mattress? Her blush darkened as the duo shifted just a bit, allowing her to feel most of those delicious curves the redhead on top of her had. The dark-haired girl sighed to herself, not deciding to worry herself overly over something that was most definitely a situation she loved being a part of. She rested her hands on Kasumi's waist and went stiff when she felt silky skin against her palm. Naruto had already taken care of most of his twin sister's clothes, and she was left with just her lingerie right then. Amy almost moaned with pleasure she felt when she came into contact with that silky skin of Kasumi's slim waist, and her delicate neck was barely an inch away from her teeth, tempting her to nibble on it.
Fuck! I can't resist anymore. I know she didn't allow me to participate yet, but this is too much. Just as she was about to sink her teeth into that delicate neck, the duo on top of her moved, and started rolling on the floor, till they were in a separate effeton that seemed to have been set up just recently by either Natsumi or Kushina.
The golden-haired girl giggled. Have fun you too.
Ami groaned in disappointment. She was so close, so close. That's when she heard Kasumi whimper, and could only stare with wide eyes as their heavy makeout moved on to the next step.
Amy stared blankly at the ceiling once the twins had finally fallen asleep. They hadn't touched anyone else for the rest of the night, seemingly too lost in each other. My God, that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. They're so perfect and passionate with each other, and hold so much love for each other that I can't even fathom its depth. The black-haired girl closed her eyes, attempting to gain a few hours of sleep before the dawn broke. She let me see her doing something so private, something she considers so sacred, I can't disappoint her. It is kinda weird though, they're just too comfortable with each other. But even though it's weird, it's really beautiful to see. Natsumi-chan and Kushina-san are snuggled up so cutely too. They don't seem bothered by the twins' nudity either.
Her eyes widened. Wait, holy shit. Everyone except me is asleep, and Kasumi-chan and Naruto-kun are sleeping just a few feet away, covered with nothing but the thin sheet Natsumi-chan draped over them.
The girl gathered up her courage as she slowly crawled over to the place where Naruto and Kasumi were sleeping, moving like a cat, or a ninja. She was a ninja. Wait, what am I thinking? This is wrong.
The wind blew in from the window, and the sheet opened to reveal a tantalizing sight. Oh, fuck right and wrong. I'm just gonna look closer and then go back to sleep. Once she was close enough, nervousness began to creep into her as the thoughts of being caught entered her mind. She inched her face closer and closer to Kasumi's neck, and her hand was barely a centimeter away from the girl's toned belly when she froze. Naruto was blinking at her.
He mouthed at her silently, hoping not to disturb the others. The slightest sound would wake up the sleeping Kunoichi, except for Kasumi, who was pretty much knocked out with no hopes of waking up for a while. What are you doing?
Ami shook her head, trying to convey nothing to him. The blonde rolled his eyes as he pointed a finger at his mouth, and then began opening and closing it.
He wants me to move my mouth as if I'm speaking but not actually do it. He must know how to lip read then.
I wasn't doing anything suspicious, she mouthed. When Naruto nodded, she bit her lip. Okay, so I wanted to take a closer look.
The blonde smirked as he took the sheet completely off and put it aside. Look all you want. I doubt you haven't already seen everything, but I don't mind. Ami's eyes darkened with passion as she gazed at them slightly hungrily. You two are. The blonde just smirked. Wanna join us? The dark-haired girl looked away. Kasumi-chan made it very clear to me what my limits were. I can't do anything more than slight touching until she's sure about me. And given how madly she's in love with you, that will never happen.
I wouldn't bet on it. Ami looked at the blonde curiously.
Naruto trailed his hand over Kasumi's luscious legs, then her toned belly, then her torso, her neck, her cheek, and finally tangled it in her majestic crimson hair. You see, Kasumi is mine.
The black-haired girl frowned but nodded. She understood that after watching everything.
And she'll do anything for me. For you. But how does that change anything for me? The girl grumbled. Maybe if you can convince me somehow, we can work something out.
Her eyes widened, and widened further till they couldn't expand anymore. No way! You would never. You love her, right?
Of course I do, but if I ask her to do it she won't mind letting you hug her and stuff, just the normal things. Right now she's only teasing you, and I can see that while those tantalizing promises of hers seem amazing, after a while it must be getting agonizing to be able to watch but not feel, right? The girl could only grimace and nod. He was right, Kasumi barely touched her, usually tricking her into a false sense of intimacy before moving away just as quickly. It felt amazing, but she could see after a while she'd be agonized to not be allowed to do anything but look and know what she could have had, but won't have.
I'll think about it.
What bothered her for the rest of the night was what Naruto might want from her to grant her that favor. He's so handsome, I could have easily fallen for him given just a bit more time. Heck, I might be falling for him right now and not know about it. But he's so devilish to be plotting like this. Whatever, I think I know what I want, and I don't care how I get it. Hope you forgive me, Iruka-sensei, but there are things more important to me than the village now.
Naruto yawned as he blinked his eyes open. Looking down, he saw the familiar crimson hair draped around him, some even over his chest. He chuckled when he saw his twin sister's grinning face. Morning on Nichan. He kissed her forehead, making the girl purr in delight. Good morning, Kasumi. How long have you been awake? Let me know what you think about it.
The blonde grinned as moved till the girl was pinned down under him. Maybe you should've. You know it's impossible to resist such a good start to the day.
I'd love to. Ami groaned as she woke up to the sounds of sex. Oh my god, don't tell me they are at it again. Hearing a giggle from near the door, she turned around to see Natsumi enter the room. Naruto, Kasumi.
A grunt from Naruto was all the answer she got, but it didn't look like she was expecting any more.
Ka-chan said you two will meet me and her at that place. Get to it once you're done. Okay?
Oh yes. Natsumi rolled her eyes, knowing that reply wasn't meant for her. See you guys then. Oh, and Amy, Kakashi wanted to see you downstairs. Also, if you mention anything that happened in this room, no matter how trivial, you'll die, K. Amy did a double take at how casually the girl had just said that, but once she understood she nodded. I understand some of the things I saw were sensitive. Don't worry, I'll never break that trust you've shown in me.
The golden-haired girl smiled. Good. Hope they don't take too long. We've got a lot to do today. Chapter end. Title: Uzumaki Chronicles. The Swirling Tides author. Akashi's Dreading. Mature story statistics and character. Details. Uzumakipedia. Weebly. Com remove spaces. Greetings, readers.
I'd like to thank Chapter 25. Constraint.
Forests. Area. Nami no Kuni. Captain!
Takane tried not to appear nervous as she looked at Eiko in a meditative position. If what she'd told them was to be believed, right now she was extending her sensing radius to the maximum.
This girl, if only she wasn't here, I would have had almost no problems. But with her around I can't use genjutsu on the others without her being aware of it. What is it?
Eiko took a few more seconds to make sure what she felt was right before reporting to her captain. 3 new chakra signatures have entered Nami no Kuni. 1 high Chunin, 1 high Jonin, and 1 low cage level.
Takane blinked. Wait, I think I misheard you. Did you say low cage level? Aiko gave her a sympathetic shake of her head. Sorry, Captain. I'm sure. And you didn't mishear me.
The brunette grimaced. Can you tell me who they are? The orange-haired censor bit her lip. I'm sorry, Captain. I'm not familiar with any of their energies. It's hard to forget chakra signatures I sense every day, so these people aren't from Konoha, but that's all I can say for sure. Raiden grunted. Should we take action to Kane? The presence of these unknowns may hinder our mission later. We should get rid of them. Kane blinked at him, wondering if he was serious. No, we can't afford to attract attention to ourselves like that. This mission is a top secret, or did you forget? Besides, if we were to take on two almost cage-level opponents at once, there's no guarantee that we'll be getting out of it without injury or loss. That would render us incapable of carrying out our original assignment.
The heavily muscled man scratched his cheek sheepishly as he realized that the girl did have a point, even though she was much younger than him. And a really fearsome kunoichi from what I've heard. She's able to put almost anyone in genjutsu that are almost impossible to detect and dispel. And she's really innocent too. Hasn't killed anyone ever, even though that's kinda stupid in the shinobi life. Ah, and she's super cute. Good dating material.
A cough from Aiko distracted him from his thoughts. He paled when he noticed she was looking at him with a raised eyebrow, along with Kane. Oh shit, they both noticed me checking her out. I'm fucked.
Gato's mansion Nami no Kuni.
Business tycoon Gato hadn't always been one of the richest men in the world. He was in fact born in quite a regular family, and thus had to earn most of what he had. Having used any means necessary to obtain the wealth he now possessed, the businessman felt confident in his moves and decisions. No matter what kind of decision he made or what kind of situation came in front of him, Gato always came out on top. He had once been young, and a few girls had approached him looking for love. Of course, businessman Gato wasn't someone who would distract himself from his more pressing concerns for something as insignificant as love. His mediocre, pathetic family had tried to persuade him by telling him money wasn't everything. But he knew.
He knew money wasn't the most important thing in the world. Love was. Fortunately, he loved money. So all was well, and he was able to dedicate himself completely to his business, achieving success most couldn't even dream of.
Thus, when his thugs had reported to him about Zabuza's defeat and the arrival of even more shinobi in his village, he hadn't been scared. Even when the report of more than 20 of his men being slaughtered effortlessly by a blonde shinobi had come to his desk, he hadn't flinched. The emotion he did feel though was aggravation. It annoyed Gato to no end that someone had dared to oppose him and escape judgment, even if it was only for a while. Deciding to bring down his hammer of justice, the businessman had immediately proceeded to inform his contacts to put out S-rank pay offers for competent missing nin, anyone A rank or above acceptable. Confident in a favorable outcome from his decision, Gato didn't lose any sleep over the new shinobi in his village. Nope, instead he lost his sleep when one of his foolish subordinates decided it would be a wise idea to wake him up when the sun had barely started rising.
You insolent fool, how dare you wake me up at this time? Do you wish to die?
The thug who had woken him up whimpered as he backed away in fear. Please forgive me, Gato-sama, but the missing nin you had requested have arrived at the designated meeting place, and you said to tell you immediately when that happens.
The pudgy man grunted in annoyance. Just his luck to have to wake up for something unavoidable at 4 in the morning.
What are you waiting here for then, you worthless shit? Go arrange a carriage for me. Bridge Builder's House Nami no Kuni.
Naruto yawned as he flipped through another page in the bingo book. Okay, so the Konoha bingo book might look different from the one I read while on my journey. But it's just the useless crap added in it that makes it seem different. I don't need to know about these D-rank and E-rank missing nins. Aren't these supposed to be really easy to hunt down? Makes me wonder why they've been left to do as they please. From what he knew, Konoha had more than enough hunter nin to dispatch for the dozens of lower-level rogue nin from the Leaf Village. Why they hadn't already done so, he'd never know. He shrugged, not bothering to think about it too much. Are you ready yet, Kasumi? We've gotta leave soon or Kaya-chan will be unhappy.
Kasumi hastily finished tying the straps of her dress as she stood up and smiled at her brother cheerfully. Done, Oni-chan.
The blonde gave her an appreciative once-over. Okay, be a doll and check both of our supplies and scrolls. I'll finish reading this bingo book by then.
Naruto flipped the pages again as Kasumi went through their equipment and scrolls to make sure everything was in working condition and that they had enough storage scrolls to store anything they might want from Gato's place.
Oh, this is interesting. A new entry to the high-level section. The Tsuchikage's daughter, Karatsuchi, recently abandoned her village for unknown reasons. Rank is low. S-class, hostility level unknown. Iwa refused to supply any information on her to the other villages. No surprise there, but it won't be too hard to acquire an Iwa bingo book if I could get the time to pay Tsuchi no Kuni a visit. It's very rare for a new S rank to pop up, so I think it'll be worth it. Naruto blinked. Ah, what primitive thinking. I don't need to go there myself. Kuchiyozen no jutsu.
The blonde blinked when instead of a small blue dragon he expected a blue-haired girl with golden tan skin appeared in front of him. Her appearance may have been of a preteen, but Naruto knew she was thousands of years old, like every other dragon. The blue-haired girl blushed as she looked at her summoner. Sorry Naruto-sama, I was practicing kenjutsu so I was in my humanoid form. Do you wish me to change back? He caught his twin sister looking over at him curiously, but he just gave her a mysterious smirk. It doesn't matter. Go to Iwagakure no Sato, make sure you're not noticed. Find a Jonin level Iwa shinobi and once you do, reverse summon me there.
She gave him a short bow. It will be done, Naruto-sama. Just as she was about to change into her dragon form and fly out, her summoner interrupted her. Oh, and Erden.
The dragon girl blinked. Yes, master.
Fly directly up till you're too high to be seen, and only then head towards Iwa. There are shinobi here that may see you otherwise. She gave him a reassuring grin. Don't worry, master, I won't fail you.
Naruto raised an eyebrow at his twin once Erden was gone out of the window and into the skies. What?
Kasumi looked away from him. Not that I mind, but why do your summons call you master? Mine only refer to me as Kasumi, or Kasumi-chan. Having spent another night with her brother, she had forgotten all about the stinging she felt in her heart when she saw Naruto flirting with Tsunami. But the feeling had come back when she saw how the dragon girl seemed to look at her brother. It wasn't as strong since she knew that her brother was satisfied for the moment, but the feeling was still there. The blonde shrugged, keeping an observant eye discreetly trained on the redhead. Different species, different behavior. You can't really compare them. They've called me Naruto-sama since the first day. Ground floor, Tazuna's house, Nami no Kuni.
Kakashi smiled as the last of his genin team finally came out of the room that the Uzumaki had picked. Sasuke had been staring at him silently for nearly an hour, while Sakura had been nursing her still aching head while trying to make sure her Sasuke-kun hadn't been hurt after their conversation with Zabuza.
The pink-haired girl looked at her crush with worry. Are you sure you're okay, Sasuke? Is there anything I can help you with? And the silver-haired Jonin waved the two genin to quiet down as he stared at his third student. Well, hello there, Ami-chan. Good to see you finally join us. Did you sleep well?
The black-haired girl blinked. Good morning, sensei. I slept fine, thank you.
She blushed as she remembered that she hadn't slept much at all, thanks to Naruto and Kasumi's activities. But she didn't regret it one bit. The show was well worth losing a few hours of sleep. She cleared her throat before her embarrassment became too obvious. Natsume-chan said you wanted to see me.
Kakashi nodded, not voicing his displeasure at the fact that she had used Chan with Natsume's name but had never done the same for Sakura even though they were teammates. Of course, I have to train all three of you to be ready to face Zabuza in a couple of days, so starting today you three will have to work hard. Amy found herself staring at her sensei with confusion clear in her eyes. I thought you couldn't use chakra till we go back to Konoha, so how are you gonna train us then? Don't worry about trivial things like that, Amy-chan. Just because I can't do it myself doesn't mean I can't tell you what you should do. I'm perfectly capable of training you guys. Now come on.
Secret Cottage Nami. No Kuni. Kagura looked around the room with disappointment. She'd expected a better meeting place since the mission was requested by one of the richest businessmen out there. So this is where we'll meet your boss. Doesn't look like somewhere a shipping tycoon would live. The thug seemed to shrink back in fear, but managed to stutter out a barely audible yes in response. He couldn't be blamed though, as his life expectancy didn't look too good while standing in the same room as some of the most dangerous criminals around. Gato-sama doesn't live here. This is just a meeting place. The white-haired girl shrugged, not bothering to make too much conversation with an inconsequential thug. Her gaze swept across the other occupants of her room. She immediately dismissed the aimed jonin with bluish-green hair as worthless since his chakra levels were pathetic. But the other girl caught her eye. She'd heard about that one. The
dark brunette glared scathingly at Kagura. Don't say it.
The rogue Konoha Kunoichi smirked. Well, forgive me for being surprised. I just didn't believe someone like you would actually abandon their village. I mean, what reason could Akage's granddaughter have to go rogue?
Kuratsuchi scowled. That's none of your concern. You're a rogue as well, so just shut up. The white-haired missing nin raised an eyebrow in amusement. Why so stingy? I'd have thought one of the Tsuchikage's granddaughters would have better manners. The girl being taunted didn't look too amused by the XANBU's behavior either. Look bitch, I don't care who you are or what you're here for. Just stop fucking with me or I'll blow you up into so many pieces that even Diderani would have been proud. The other girl raised her hands in surrender. She may be confident in her skills, but from what was known of the other girl, it wasn't wise to pick a fight with her. Geez, calm down alright. Let's not talk about your reasons for being here if you're so bothered by it. Inwardly the white-haired girl was wondering why Kuratsuchi called the mad bomber Didera her brother. She may be a missing nin as well, but she knew that Onoki would probably take his granddaughter back eventually, even though the punishment might be severe. The same could not be said for Didera as from what she'd heard, he had killed countless Iwa shinobi in his escape. A few feet away from them, Aoi Rokusho was sweating bullets. Coming here wasn't a good idea at all. I knew that reward was just too good not to attract high-level nin. None of them seem to be at a level which I can handle, and I'm a jonin. That white-haired chick seems to be high A class, and the other girl is definitely close to S class. I feel so screwed, wonder if it's too late to back out.
The brown-haired girl relaxed when Kagura seemed to have dropped the topic. Her relief didn't last too long, however. The white-haired Kunoichi smiled cheekily. You know, I always wanted to ask something if I ever met someone from your family. Has your old man Onoki got no sense of naming his grandchildren? I mean, you're named Kakurotsuchi, meaning Yellow Earth. Your older sister is named Kurotsuchi, meaning Black Earth. And I'm pretty sure the old guy copied both your names from his bodyguard, Akatsuchi's, which means Red Earth. How unoriginal can a guy be? That really doesn't suit someone at such a high position. He might as well have named you all in numbers, like Tsuchiyoni, Tsuchitwu, Su. The glare Kagura got this time made her smile drop. Fine, I'll stop.
Kuratsuchi may not have shown it, but internally she huffed at Kagura. Why does she have to be such a bitch? This is exactly why I need to work alone to find Didera-senpai, but first I need some money to fund my search. I have this almost irresistible urge to tell her it was my father Kitsuchi who named us, must resist.
She was saved from her predicament when the door creaked open, and a small pudgy man entered the room surrounded by a large number of guards. I'm glad to have you all here. My name is Gato, your host. Now, let's discuss some business matters.
Kagura and Kuratsuchi looked at the small man curiously, wondering how such an unimpressive man had acquired such a vast reputation and wealth. Aoi meanwhile looked relieved that his employer was finally here. The sooner he got the mission details and got out of range of those devil women, the better.
Gato cleared his throat before addressing his audience. As you should already know, you're here because I need certain people killed. Unfortunately, those certain people are high-level shinobi, so I'll need to hire your skills to put them down. Of course, you'll be paid handsomely.
Kagura snorted. Stop wasting our time. Just tell us how much you can afford so I may know if I even want to take your assignment. The offer only said, a very handsome sum of money will be awarded by Gato-sama. The pudgy businessman tapped his cane on the floor, looking annoyed by the white-haired girl's behavior. It had taken him a good 4 hours to get to this shabby cottage from his compound in that shitty carriage the thugs had arranged for him, so he wasn't in the best of moods at the moment. Regardless, having dealt with tricky negotiations all his life, he was more than capable of behaving professionally when the situation called for it. Based on your bingo book rankings, I'm willing to pay 5 million ryo to Kuratsuchi, 3 million ryo to Kagura, and 500,000 ryo to Aoi. Is that satisfactory? The payment will only be made once you've completed the assignment though, since I've already had a setback when Zabuza the fake demon failed pathetically.
Aoi bit back a snarl at the low amount he was being offered compared to others, but knew it was justified since he currently didn't have the reputation of the Tsuchikage's granddaughter and rogue Konoha Anbu. Still, it hurt his pride.
Kagura however caught on to something that Aoi had completely missed. Zabuza, the demon of the mist. He failed this assignment of yours. Interesting. Kuratsuchi scoffed. Inconsequential. Mist shinobi have always been weak-willed. Now tell me the job so I can get it over with Gato. I don't wish to dally here any longer than necessary.
Gato nodded, pleased with the confidence of the young kunoichi. Of course. Your job is to kill this bridge builder named Tazuna. He tossed them a photograph of the old bridge builder. But he will have 2 teams of Konoha protecting him, so kill them too. Kill anyone who gets in your way. You're to carry this assignment out in 2 days when Zabuza recovers. I don't want to take any risks, so all of you will be attacking together. This is a part of your job, so you need to meet these conditions to receive payment. Got it?
Kuratsuchi nodded as she left the building with a shunshin. Kagura meanwhile was looking at Gato in distrust. You didn't tell me who we'll be facing. If they defeated Zabuza, they couldn't be some no-name shinobi. I want to know their names.
Gato shrugged nonchalantly. I have no idea what their names are. Just that the fake demon lost to them. Hopefully you won't disappoint me like that.
Kagura just glared at him as she too shushined away, hoping to collect some information from Zabuza. Going into the battlefield uninformed was not her style. Meanwhile Gato fought to contain the smirk that threatened to spread across his face as he headed back to the carriage. Once they were done with the mission and came to collect payment, what waited for them would be fully fledged hunter nin parties sent by their own villages. This was why he loved hiring missing nin for his jobs. Not only did they work hard, they actually ended up earning him profit by simply being there. If they completed the task, it was just a bonus.
Natsumi sighed in relief as she felt her siblings' chakra signatures enter her range. She gave her mother a nod when Kushina looked at her questioningly, confirming her suspicions. Yeah, they're here. She rolled her eyes as a few seconds later the twins appeared in front of them. Finally, you two came. Ka-chan, and I've been waiting forever.
Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. We came all right.
The blonde girl closed her mouth in surprise as the double meaning of his words got to her. Her face went red as she looked away. The half-demon chuckled. Sorry, I got carried away.
His mother gave him a reprimanding look while doing her best to hide her amusement. Be more careful with this, Naruto-kun. Due to certain dangers nearby, we can't risk losing any chances we get.
The blonde boy nodded, knowing that she was referring to Takane's squad. He knew they needed to do this without being noticed by them. Gotcha. So how are we gonna do this? Kushina was relieved to know that he got serious when it came to their little mission. It would make things considerably easier if he knew when he could act freely, and when he had to take care of certain responsibilities. This was their first real mission together, aside from the one at Kurama compound. Of course, that one didn't really count considering she had to split her team individually, making it impossible for her to really know how Naruto handled the situation. She gave her son a soft smile despite the rather serious nature of their mission. First things first, we need to find out where Gato lives. I'd suspected him to be in the Gato Inc. office in the town itself, but unfortunately it seems abandoned except for the random thugs hanging out there. Can you do that, Naruto-kun? If not, we'll have to resort to good old interrogation, which will take a bit more time. Naruto gave her a cheeky salute. His unique abilities made that particular task incredibly easy for him. Got it, sensei. Leave that job to me.
Kushina huffed at his cheeky reply but let him lead anyway. Kasumi spoils him too much, but then again, I can't blame her since I do the same, if only to a lesser extent. Naruto flicked the Ryujin to get the blood off the sword. A few idle foreign memories were still drifting through his mind even as the soul he had extracted with his Dojutsu technique got absorbed into his sword.
It had only been a day since their first mission outside the village as a team, and they hadn't even done that much. But still, Naruto now understood why each one of them had been focused on getting the setup of their scores just right to end up in the same team. Kasumi's reason was fairly simple. She just wanted to spend as much time with her Anoi-chan as possible, and Natsumi's reason fell along the same lines.
Kushina's reasoning, however, was a bit more complex than that. He hadn't even understood it until now. She has too much experience and talent to even consider wasting the 6 months between our graduation and the Chunin exams. If it was anyone else in her place, they would have considered simply lying in wait till the invasion before running away, but Ka-chan is someone who would try to make the most out of those 6 months as well. Well, that wasn't too hard. We're lucky that both the thugs we picked knew of Gato's mansion, so now it's pretty much confirmed.
Kushina smiled. Good job. You saved us a few minutes of interrogation with that mind-reading ability of yours.
Naruto nodded as he sealed the sword back in his dragon tattoo. And I got 2 more souls in my Ryujin, so it wasn't a complete waste of time even if we ignore the information we collected. Ah, and Gato knows about our presence here. Kushina shrugged. It was going to be rather hard to keep themselves a secret given a part of their mission was to protect Gato's target, so they simply hadn't bothered to hide. We never hid it, so it was to be expected. Let's go now.
Gato's mansion Nami no Kuni.
Naruto whistled in appreciation at the 4-story pure white building in front of him. The entire structure seemed to be made out of white marble of the highest quality. So this is that slimy rich bastard's mansion. Not bad. Quite far away from the town. Took us 5 minutes at shinobi speed. This is much more impressive than his office in the town though. Kushina and her daughters could only nod as they looked over the building. The security is damn tight for a civilian establishment, but they're just thugs, so we can simply cut them down.
Naruto grinned excitedly. Oh, don't kill any, please.
Kushina raised an eyebrow, surprised at his request. It wouldn't have been too much of a shock if that statement had come from Natsumi. But for either of the twins to have spoken those words was nearly unbelievable. Since they were attacked in the park all those years ago, neither of them had much respect for the lives of unknown people. Naruto was more in tune with the worldly dealings compared to Kasumi though. He understood that not everyone could be discarded. Growing soft, Naruto-kun.
The blonde shrugged nonchalantly. Nope. I just wanted their souls. You can do whatever. Just don't kill any if possible, and leave their souls to me. Kushina's sweat dropped. I was worried over nothing.
Near bridge builder's house Nami no Kuni. Sakura looked around at the small clearing in confusion. It didn't look quite large enough for the team exercises her sensei usually had them do, which was what she expected given he had told them that they were being taken for training. What are we here for, Kakashi sensei? Kakashi smiled at his pink-haired genin. Why? To train, of course, Sakura. You'll be confronting missing nin soon, and while you'll have help, you still need to be stronger to face them when the time comes. Sasuke immediately perked up when the Jonin mentioned training, and even Amy seemed much more interested in the conversation now. Sakura nodded hesitantly, not quite as happy with real training as her teammates. What they had been doing so far suited her just fine, but she had never been someone who excelled at physical exercises and the like due to her strict diet and civilian background. For as long as they'd been a genin team, Kakashi had only ever had them do D-rank missions or team exercises, and most of their time was simply spent waiting for their sensei to even be there. This suited Sakura just fine since this way she could have more time to focus on her real objective, gaining Sasuke's affection. It was understandable that she looked hesitant at the prospect of real training, not wanting to look uncool in front of her crush by performing poorly on a given task. What are we going to do to train then, sensei? Kakashi gave her an eye smile. We'll learn how to climb trees, without hands.
Sakura's eyes widened. She was about to launch a protest when another one of her headaches hit her. Oh!
The Jonin looked at the pink kid in sympathy. Don't worry, Sakura, you'll be okay once a medic treats you in Konoha, but for now you'll have to endure. The girl frowned but nodded. Now, Sakura, as you probably have the best chakra control among the three of you, I want you to channel chakra into your feet and try to stick them to the tree trunk. Once you think they're sticking, try to walk up.
It took Sakura a good few tries to get the concept, but once she did, she climbed to the top of the tree with seemingly no effort. The other two genin looked annoyed at the fact that the Jonin hadn't allowed them to practice as well, instead having them wait till Sakura succeeded.
The silver-haired Jonin nodded in satisfaction at his genin's work. Very good. If I could have shown you how it's done, you'd have probably gotten it right on the first try. Excellent job, Sakura. Now Sasuke, Amy, you two try the same. The two dark-haired genin walked towards their respective trees. Sasuke looked at his sensei curiously before he started his practice. There had been something he was wondering about. Where's the other team? Kakashi sighed. He wished his sensei's widow and her children were here with him too, he could have trained them as well. Someone has to protect the bridge builder while we're here, Sasuke. They're doing that.
He giggled. Perhaps I could have even gotten a peek up the blonde girl's skirt when she did the practice. It's rather short. The Uchiha smirked as he started climbing his tree. I'll have a better chance of catching up if they waste their time protecting the useless old man while I'm training to get stronger. He paled when he heard Kakashi giggle perversely, completely misunderstanding the situation. Oh shit. Don't tell me the son of a bitch is perving after me. Gato's mansion. Naruto sighed as the last thug in the mansion slid off his sword. Dead! The tattoo on his arm now sported the number 177 with pride. That's the last of them. Kushina gazed at the interior of the building appreciatively. She may not like the man, but she had to admit his mansion was well maintained with lush red carpets, and each piece of furniture expensive enough to be worth a house. We can explore this place now. Pick up anything we might find useful here and then wait till Gato shows up. There are 4 floors including the ground floor and 4 of us here, so just pick one each. Naruto grinned. I picked the top floor. Kushina hummed in approval. Fine. Ground floor is mine. Kasumi and Natsumi looked at each other before shrugging. You go to the 3rd floor, Kasumi. I'll take the 2nd one. Top floor, Gato's mansion.
Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he tossed another scroll back into one of Gato's many lockers. Huh, who would have guessed? I didn't care too much about him before, but this bastard is one slimy fucker to be able to do all this. He has a hand in everything. From smuggling babies for Orochimaru to experiment on, to supplying women to whorehouses, Gato had done it all. And it wasn't just those cheap requests he fulfilled, nope. Even Danzo from Konoha came to Gato when he needed something not easily available from the black market. No matter what it was, if someone paid Gato enough money, he'd get it for them.
Uzumaki. Karen, huh? What an interesting report. Wonder if I should tell this to Kaya-chan before or after she's done torturing Gato. What's taking him so long anyway? I'd think with a mansion this luxurious he'd be spending more time here.
He flipped another page of the report detailing his deal with Orochimaru. So for 100 million ryo he sold a 2-year-old Karen to Orochimaru. I already knew that, but I didn't know this. Wonder what the snake bastard would think if he knew Gato bought Karen from the missing nin who killed her parents for just 5 million ryo. He chuckled. Meh, Gato's gonna die today so it doesn't really matter I guess. The blonde started shuffling through the scrolls and files once more. The top floor was Gato's office and so far the only interesting things he'd found were various reports detailing Gato's activities. Another name caught his eye. Now this he had to read. Uzumaki Hanoka, bought from missing nin at the age of 4 at the price of 100,000 ryo. Huh, guess they didn't know she was worth 1,000 times that amount. Oh well, holy mother of God. He read it again and again to make sure he hadn't read it wrong. Sold to the ultimate summoning animal research team for 1 billion ryo cash and a 10% share in any future profits from the project. This Gato bastard sure knew how to squeeze the most out of a deal. I doubt even I could make this kind of deal without a kunai to the other party's throat.
He couldn't help but read into the details of the project. Once done, he closed the file with a sigh. I know Karen is in Orochimaru's care, but I'll have to check on this Anoka girl as soon as I get the chance. Hope they haven't experimented on her or anything. He frowned as he looked at the huge piles of scrolls and files in the room. Cage! Bunshin no Jutsu. He had lost interest in going through all the scrolls himself, but he still didn't want to miss out on any important details. There was just one special file he had set aside to read before leaving: Gato's finances. His jaw dropped to the floor and went right through it as he read the file. Dan. I knew he was rich, but just damn.
Shaking his head, the blonde closed the file. Wonder if the others found anything interesting.
The businessman gaped in horror at the scene in front of him. There were dead bodies everywhere.
His shock only lasted for a few moments before being replaced by anger. How dare these puny worthless weaklings cause a riot in my mansion? That's it, I'll have anyone who isn't already dead in there killed for messing with my property. As Gato marched through the gates with 20 thugs flanking him on the both sides, he never realized his imminent doom.
The ground floor was apparently meant for showing off to his guests, filled with precious artwork, statues and ornaments that would have made almost any rich collector jealous. The second floor was surprisingly the most normal one, containing the living quarters and various facilities meant for Gato's comfort. Oh, this bed is super comfortable. Kushina rolled her eyes at her son, who was trying out almost every single piece of expensive furniture present in the building. Don't get too used to it, we're ninja, and once we're done with this place you'll be back to futons on the floor.
Naruto just smirked. I don't really mind, I'll have someone cute and cuddly with me anyway. It'll be better than this bed.
The redhead just raised an eyebrow before moving on to completing the document she'd been working on.
That's the document we need Gato to sign for us to become owners of everything that he owns, right?
Kushina gave him an absent-minded nod as she finished the document. Pretty much. Naruto smiled when he saw Kasumi and Natsumi walk down the stairs, and then come in his direction. Here, Oni-chan. Naruto accepted the 2 scrolls offered to him, giddily. Once Kasumi and Natsumi had revealed that Gato had been keeping various equipment, weapons, and jutsu scrolls from the missing nin, he ratted out for himself. The temptation was too much for the blonde. He'd immediately asked all the weapons and equipment to be sealed for further study later, and jutsu scrolls to be sealed in a separate storage scroll, so he could learn anything useful as soon as he got some time. There were some rare jutsu scrolls and weapons that Gato had acquired in hopes of reselling them for a higher price later too.
Natsumi smiled at the excited half-demon. Kasumi preferred perfecting her basic nature manipulation and fuinjutsu rather than learning new techniques, while the blonde girl was still too busy learning what Nina had tasked her with. Naruto was really the only one in their family with a hunger for new techniques. Our trip here was quite fruitful, huh? Naruto's grin faltered for a brief moment as he remembered the details about Hinoka and Karen. He had decided not to tell the others about them yet, not until he decided what he had to do with them. Ka-chan may act all sacrificial by ordering us to kill another clanmate for being on the enemy's side, but honestly she'll be hurt on the inside. There aren't many left of us, and to have to kill one of the last few would surely be an unpleasant experience. If they are going to be threats, I'll kill them and others will never have to know about them. No need to have the guilt on their chests.
His eyes traced over to Kasumi, who was now checking over the document Kushina had crafted to make sure they hadn't missed anything.
Well, Kasumi will surely not mind. I doubt she really cares about anyone other than those who are bound by our Jinsei Kazuna Fuin.
What the fuck do you people think you are doing lounging in my mansion? Naruto blinked as he noticed the pudgy businessman they'd been waiting for had finally arrived.
A grin formed on his face as he got up from the comfortable bed and started walking towards the short man. Ah, Gato-san, long time no see. How've you been? I'm sorry about slaughtering the few hundred thugs outside the compound, and the 20 in the town, oh, and about taking everything you ever worked for. You won't mind signing these documents, would you? Gato blinked, rage temporarily forgotten as the blonde handed him a contract. It didn't take him more than a glance to realize what it was, reigniting his rage tenfold. You think I'm stupid? I won't sign my property over to anyone. Naruto shook his head at the pudgy man, snatching the document away before the midget could tear it to shreds. I wouldn't say you're stupid. You are, but I wouldn't say it. The cold smirk from the boy made the man go pale. It was at that moment that he realized he was going to be in a lot of pain until he signed his property away. What he didn't know was that he was going to be in a lot of pain regardless, until he died. You see, I'd have preferred to let you go so both of us can live in peace, but unfortunately Ka-chan wanted to talk to you about something important before you left. That's when he noticed the thugs he had been flanked by were nowhere to be seen, and a woman with the look of devil in her eyes was looking at him with a grin so feral that it nearly made the ever-stoic businessman piss in his pants. Almost the entire day Amy and Sasuke had trained hard to be able to get to the treetops. They'd both been shocked that Sakura, a girl they had thought was good at nothing but theory, had exceeded them by such a large degree on a practical exercise. The voice of their Jonin-sensei broke the two grumbling genin out of their thoughts, and got the smug-looking Sakura's attention as well. Come here Sasuke, I have something I want you to have. Once the Uchiha boy had reached him, Kakashi handed him a scroll with the kanji of fire on it. It's Kaden, Hosenka no Jutsu. I know you already know the Gokaku no Jutsu, so this won't be so hard to learn. Use it well.
Ami bit her lip. What about me? Kakashi looked at her calmly before shrugging. Right now among the three of you, only Sasuke has enough chakra to be able to perform ninjutsu well. Ami bristled on the inside. For all his boasting about the three of us being so strong, the only one who even knows anything beyond Academy Jutsu is Sasu. Sakura doesn't know any Jinjutsu, and I know only the basic Academy Taijutsu, which I'm not very good at either. If you don't want to train me, then I'll just go train by myself then. The cycloptic Jonin just nodded at her. Go ahead. Training by oneself always yields the best results. What you learn that way will stick longer.
The fuming girl left the clearing while Sakura stayed behind to watch her crush train to learn his fire technique.
Gato's mansion.
Naruto sighed as he held the shivering form of Natsumi close, rubbing her back comfortingly. They were currently on the top floor in Gato's office. Are you okay now?
He frowned as the blonde girl nodded in his chest without moving back to look at him in the eyes. I'm fine. Naruto sighed. She's too soft. Torture isn't something she can digest, it seems. and the fact that he was being tortured because of her only made it worse.
He blinked as he felt the disturbance stop from the chakra metal stabbed into Gato's body on the ground floor. Gato's dead. He picked Natsumi up bridal style, smiling at her sleeping face as he carried her downstairs. She didn't take that well, but she'll be fine. From now on we'll have to keep her away from such situations though.
Kushina slammed her fist in a nearby table, smashing the expensive furniture to splinters. Damn it, I didn't mean for him to die just then.
Kasumi looked at the broken and mutilated form of Gato without pity before focusing back on her mother. It's alright, Ka-chan, he suffered enough. Kushina sighed. It's not that, but Sochi-kun asked me not to kill anyone since souls are useful for him.
Kasumi flipped her hair back absent-mindedly as she smirked. Just have him punish you for it later if you want. The cage-level Kunoichi blinked, then blinked again before the real meaning of punishment dawned on her. And no thanks. I don't think so.
It's fine, Ka-chan. I got plenty of souls from this place already. One more or less doesn't really matter that much. The redheads smiled brightly as they saw their lover come down the stairs with a sleeping and content-looking Natsumi in his arms. They knew she was a bit bothered by what she'd seen, but it wasn't something so major that a little bit of comforting wouldn't be able to take care of.
She'll be fine once she wakes up. Kushina ran a hand through her hair as she looked at her blonde daughter with an unreadable gaze. I didn't think she wouldn't be able to see torture.
Naruto just made a shadow clone before handing Natsumi over to him. I think she would have been fine if it was normal torture. You just went a little extreme.
His mother huffed. Not my fault the bastard tried to sell my daughter.
The half-demon sighed as he recalled the memories of his shadow clones once they'd gone through all of Gato's documents. If only you knew the real extent of his depravity. He knelt down next to Gato's barely recognizable corpse as he started picking out the weapons still embedded in the body. Don't leave my metal like this as evidence anywhere, if possible.
The girls behind him blinked in confusion. Okay, but why? It's a part of me, in a sense. I'm sure you know there are ways our enemies have to make use of that. If we get injured in an enemy territory, we don't pay much mind to it since blood isn't very useful unless it's fresh. But if our blood was taken by an enemy in a vial, we make sure to not let him get away, right, Ka-chan?
Realization dawned in their eyes as they nodded. Not only were there techniques like the Edo Tensei that made leaving blood or other genetic material behind undesirable, but a skilled enough medic could extract information from an enemy's body parts. How much could be extracted from Naruto's chakra metal was an unknown, given Natsumi had been unable to do so herself. But that didn't mean no one else could do it, even if it was only because of a stroke of luck. The risk wasn't worth taking if possible.
You can shape your metal to any form, right, Sachi-kun? Naruto grunted as he pulled out a particularly trickily stuck dagger from Gato's body. Not yet, I'm working on it. I can make katanas and daggers, or anything else in a straight or slightly bent rod-like shape, with an edge if I want. The easiest and fastest forms I can make are straight blades or rods. Kushina nodded with a grin. That's still pretty awesome. Can Nagato-kun do the same? The blonde shook his head. Last I checked, he could only make rods and blades. Only I was able to slightly manipulate the shape of the metal further, and I've improved since then.
They remained in comfortable silence as Kushina stroked a sleeping Natsumi's hair and Naruto finished picking out the last of his weapons from Gato cold, dead body. You were pretty thorough with him, huh?
The redhead just smirked before shifting her attention to Kasumi. How long till it's done? The blonde's twin bit her lip as she continued drawing her array. I've never done this before. I don't know.
Naruto sighed. Give her some time, Ka-chan. It's not easy to seal an entire mansion away without damaging it. Till then we should clean the place up.
His mother gave him a shrug. Already had my clones do that. Except for this room. Alright then. Do you guys need anything else from me? Kushina blinked. What do you mean?
Naruto rubbed the back of his neck as he looked away. Just had something to do. I'll meet you guys back at the bridge builder's house. Oh, and I'll leave a few clones here just in case.
The redhead frowned but nodded. Okay. Be careful. She smacked the back of Kasumi's head lightly when she saw the girl had stopped drawing the ceiling array and was looking at her brother longingly as he walked out of the mansion. Stop staring at him leaving and get back to work. The redhead pouted but started drawing the seal again. Bossy Ka-chan. Ami punched the tree in front of her repeatedly. I don't get it. If it took the same time for both of us to finish the tree climbing, how come Kakashi-sensei said he has a lot more chakra than me? She then moved back and started going through the academy katas. I have nothing to do. I can't just keep on practicing the stances I've already done hundreds of times. And these are only meant as basics so we can learn more advanced taijutsu later. But of course, Kakashi's not interested in teaching anyone but Sasuke. She stopped mid-kata as a growl broke free from her throat. This is useless. I'll never be able to change into someone strong like this. We survived Zabuza just barely. Next time I'll probably die. Going back to the tree she'd been punching earlier, the dark-haired girl once more decided to take her frustration out on it. Her aggravation got the better of her, though, and with a particularly hard punch, she was left holding her fist in pain. Ouch! Ouch! Ow! Ow! That hurt. Chuckle from above her made her jump and fall back on her butt in shock. Naruto jumped down from the tree branch he'd been sitting on. Not too aware of your surroundings, are you? The girl blushed in embarrassment. He was right there all this time. How could I not notice? I'm such a joke for a kunoichi. Naruto looked at her with a small smirk on his face. Well, what's up? The black-haired girl bit her lip and looked away. I don't know what to do. So I was trying to train by myself. Kakashi-sensei gave Sasuke jutsu, but he didn't give me anything.
The blonde just nodded in understanding. Ah, I see. Well, don't mind me. Go right ahead. The girl looked at him hesitantly before starting her katas again. After a few minutes, she stopped as she looked at the blonde with a blush. I can't keep it up if you keep looking at me.
Naruto tilted his head with a smile on his face. The girl was cute, he'd give her that, but his objective here was something entirely different. It's not like I'm watching you change clothes or anything. You're just training in basics, so my presence here should be negligible.
The dark-haired girl shuffled on her feet nervously. It's embarrassing if you see how far behind I am though, you'll think I'm pathetic. He looked at her calmly. Is that so? I think you are what you've been made to be. You have your choices of course, but not everyone can end up strong.
The girl blinked. Choices. If I had any choice, I'd be much stronger. She frowned. What? Naruto shrugged. Nah, it's just funny that you say something like that when you have a choice right now and you're not taking it. I have. He gave her a charming grin and was pleased to notice as a blush lit up her face again. Yeah, I'm here, ain't I? You think I'd stick around for no reason? I can give you a few pointers if you make the right choices. Ami bit her lip nervously. But why? I'm just a no-name clanless girl with no real skills. Why me? The blonde shrugged nonchalantly. He still didn't quite believe that she was some civilian with no clan or shinobi parentage. I have my reasons, but I won't teach you anything till I'm sure it won't be used against me.
Amy looked at him in shock before a grateful look filled her eyes. No one, not even Kasumi-chan, has ever offered to teach me.
I promise, I'll never use it against you or any of your family. You know I really like Kasumi-chan, and I like all of her family. In
the end she couldn't confess that she had perhaps fallen for him as well, not with just a few simple words he had timed right. Nope, not enough. Love can turn bitter, and you're so young that such love may not even be concrete. Amy bristled, clearly not pleased with the fact that someone her own age was looking down at her for being too young. And are you any older? The blonde grinned. Touché.
The two of them remained silent as the dark-haired girl waited for him to elaborate. When it didn't seem like he'd do so, she decided to continue on her own. Well, what would you have me do then? How about a deal? Gato's mansion Nami no Kuni. Kushina watched with a smile as her daughter worked on the ceiling of the entire mansion so they could use it later. They could leave it here after salvaging all the goods, but it would be a waste considering they could use it as at least a hotel or something when they rebuilt Uzushio. The main problem Kasumi had encountered while trying to seal the building away was to make sure it wouldn't crumble when it was sealed or released. Even the sturdiest structures were surprisingly fragile once they lost their ground support. They were hoping that a long array of strengthening seals would help the building not lose its integrity.
Kasumi focused on her chakra as water started gathering from thin air and formed a bubble around the mansion. Fuan, seal. Kushina nodded in satisfaction. She's pretty good with forming seals using water, but it's a pretty fragile style if someone were to disturb the water during the technique. That won't be too hard to do with a Kaiden or Futon jutsu. Ah well, usually her seals are too small to even be noticeable. This was an exception, so I suppose it's okay.
Kasumi handed her mother the large scroll containing Gato's mansion. I'll carry one each-on. Kushina sighed as she watched the young redhead tenderly pick up the blonde girl in her arms. She's so blissfully asleep. Hard to believe from a kunoichi.
Kasumi bit her lip. Oni-chan is.
Kushina raised her arms in surrender. I know. She's never felt threatened while asleep. I'm sure Naruto has reflexes having lived alone for so long outside the compound. And you're just paranoid? The younger redhead looked at her mother in mock indignation. I'm not paranoid.
The cage-level kunoichi rolled her eyes. Reet, and I'm in love with the Hokage.
Natsumi was harshly awoken from her beauty sleep when her sister unceremoniously dropped her on the ground. It took almost a full minute of gaping for Kasumi to come back to her senses. That's not funny, Ka-chan.
Kushina just giggled as the recently awoken blonde girl got up in annoyance and proceeded to chase the younger redhead with a Juken chakra scalpel. The large scroll Kasumi had given to her shrunk down to the size of a cigarette with a brief application of her chakra. Kasumi-chan is the only one in our family who doesn't have enough chakra control for this trick, she can only unshrink them. Ah well, she'll get better with time.
Ami panted as she parted her lips from the blonde after almost 10 minutes of continuous kissing. Wait, I said LMF. Naruto didn't give her a chance to speak anymore as he grabbed her by her long black hair and pulled her soft lips back onto his own.
Remember Naruto-kun, we need to lock onto her intention before activating the seal.
I know, Ki-chan. I'm working on it. He held the squirming girl close to himself by the waist as he used his demonized claw to scratch her lower back in a set pattern. She hissed into his mouth in pain, but he ignored it. The girl was naive and had easily fallen into his trap. He relaxed his grip on her just a little, and the girl pulled her head back as she panted for breath.
Amy rested her forehead against the blonde half-demon's temple as she stared into his eyes with a strange mixture of apprehension and gratefulness. I'm not going to lose anything if I don't betray you, right? She had agreed to his demand of having a seal placed on her to ensure her loyalty. He had assured her that it wasn't something that will come into play until she betrayed them, so she was confident she had nothing to lose there as she did not plan to do that. Yeah, but if you do betray me then the consequences will be unpleasant. Your chakra will be sealed and you will be in so much pain that the Hyuga branch family seal will look like a tickling technique in comparison.
The dark-haired girl paled before shaking her head. Not gonna happen? Some may have considered her stupid for agreeing to basically throwing her life away just like that, but in her opinion, she'd made a wise decision. I was going to die if I had kept going like I had been. Kakashi would never teach me anything, and as Sasuke keeps getting stronger, we'll go on more and more dangerous missions. How long will I last under such circumstances? My mother and father don't really care for me either, and I know they're not my real parents. They may have raised me, but it was always like they had no choice in the matter of raising me. I may be overthinking this, but I can't help but feel like I'll have a happier future with him than the one that awaits me if I stay in Konoha.
She blinked as the ripping sound of a fabric brought her out of her musings. It didn't take her more than a second to realize it was her top that had been ripped. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? I'm not ready for this.
The blonde chuckled in amusement. The little girl thought he was going to fuck her. No way, not right now. She may be cute, but she was too young to be able to take him without breaking irreversibly. And she wasn't someone he wanted to break due to her role as a spy in the future, so that option was clearly out. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't want to have sex with you. The seal needs just a little more space and your top was getting in the way.
The dark-haired girl blushed as she ducked her head in embarrassment. Sorry.
He gave her another soul-searing kiss, actually leaving her panting with lust, swimming in her eyes.
Wait. Don't stop.
He had finished drawing the seal. Now all that was left was for him to channel his yoki into it and activate it. But there were certain requirements that had to be met if he wanted everything to go as planned. Tell me, will you ever betray me? The girl tried to blink out of her daze, but still unconsciously inched her soft lips closer to the half-demons. Naruto pulled back right before she almost had it. No, I promised.
Naruto stared into her eyes and nodded once he was sure her loyalty was concrete. Without any further delay, he nestled his hand in her scalp and tilted her head to the side forcefully, exposing her delicate neck. This may sting just a bit. Amy gulped as she felt his hot breath hit her neck and his strong, rough hand rubbing her back. The fact that he had left her topless and pressed against him didn't help her case either, and neither did his iron grip on her dark locks. She winced as Naruto's fangs pierced her delicate skin and drew blood. What kind of fuinjutsu needs him to go through all this? I hope I'm doing the right thing by trusting you, Naruto-kun.
Kasumi pouted as she kept staring at the door longingly.
Kushina rolled her eyes at her daughter. She'd been in the same position for the whole 30 minutes since they had arrived at the bridge builder's house. Stop staring at the door and do something productive. The younger redhead waved her mother off. I did finish my part of both our fuinjutsu arrays. I have nothing else to do but wait till Oni-chan gets home, so maybe we can have some rough sex.
No, you can't have sex until you at least try finishing the fangjutsu for 10 minutes. Wait, when the fuck did you do that?
Kasumi stuck her tongue out. When you weren't looking.
Kushina was going to retort but fell silent when Natsumi entered the room along with Tsunami.
We were putting Agaya-chan to sleep. It's getting kinda late. Where is Naruto-kun?
Kasumi gave her blonde sister a reassuring smile. Somewhere close? No need to worry.
Her elder sister frowned as she wondered how the girl she thought cared about Naruto the most was so calm when they didn't know where he was. How do you know for sure? The redhead shrugged as she casually flipped her long lustrous crimson locks, exposing her delicate neck with the Uzumaki Jinsei Kazuna Fuin on it. Realization dawned in the other girl's eyes as she realized that bonded partners could sense where the other was at, if only vaguely. She blinked then as a familiar chakra signature entered her range, along with one she had sensed before but not too often. Naruto-kun and Amy are heading here together.
Her sensory range wasn't as large as she would have liked though, as the duo was already within 100 meters. But she was confident that her range would increase as she advanced the level of her nature seals further. Within moments, the door opened as Naruto entered with Ami wrapped around his arm. Even more curious was the fact that she was wearing his shirt. Natsumi cringed when she saw Kasumi bristle before the redhead reined her emotions in, and smiled. Hi, Onui-chan, Ami-chan, what kept you? Nothing important, really. I was just giving some training tips to Ami-chan here.
Kushina frowned at her son before she shook her head. He wasn't the type to do something for no reason, so she decided to trust him with this for now. She may not like the fact that her son was helping out a girl she had no interest in and might not even be loyal to them, but perhaps the blonde half-demon had something in mind.
Kasumi, on the other hand, was barely restraining herself from strangling Ami. The thin layer of perspiration that covered the dark-haired girl's fair skin did not help her line of thinking. That fucking bitch. I'm gonna hack her apart with a fucking axe.
Naruto didn't pay much attention to his twin sister right then, deciding to clarify things to his family later. He settled Amy down on his lap once he had taken a seat on a nearby chair. The blonde rubbed the dark-haired girl's back comfortingly as she blushed bright red. Not in front of Kasumi-chan, what will she think? But in the end she couldn't voice those thoughts and decided to just enjoy the feeling of the blonde half-demon's strong hands stroking her.
Does it still hurt?
He was referring to the pain from applying the Fuinjutsu, but others in the room blushed as they thought their suspicions had been confirmed. Amy didn't realize the double meaning in her words as she told him she was just a bit sore.
Hitomi chuckled. You're cruel, Naruto-kun. You do realize that your sister is probably having a fit of jealousy over all this, right? Nah, she'll be fine. She's gotta get used to it sooner or later. What if some enemy kunoichi makes suggestive comments about me on a battlefield? It won't do for her to lose her cool just like that. I suppose. So did the girl's seal work like you expected? I think so. I checked her intentions thoroughly to the best of my ability, and that was the only variable we had to worry about.
The seal he had used was of his own design, with a little bit of help from Kyubi. She didn't really contribute to the Fuinjutsu itself, but she did help him tweak it so it would pass down to any children Amy had in the future. The seal basically locked onto the strongest intention, whatever it was, the target had when it was applied and made it so when the target went against that intention, the seal would activate its failsafe. Until that time, it would remain dormant. No one would even know it was there as it had long since faded into her skin. If she ever betrays me, the seal will overwhelm her with the locked intention till she can think of nothing but that single, linear thought. It will take away her free will, which will make her weaker and poor as a spy, but that will be better than a traitor. I do hope it never comes to that point though. Meanwhile, Amy was blushing up a storm as she nuzzled the blonde's neck. He hadn't taught her anything extravagant. He had made it clear right from the start that he wouldn't do that. Her training will be just like it would have been under a capable Jonin sensei who wanted her to improve. She won't be taught any original jutsu or Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, but she was okay with that. She was grateful for what he gave her, which was more than she would have gotten from anyone else under any kind of circumstances. Thanks for teaching me, Naruto-sensei.
Kasumi pushed her chair back, huffed and walked upstairs muttering something about axes and rolling heads. A moment later, Kakashi walked in with Sakura and Sasuke in tow. Yo!
He blinked when he noticed his student nuzzling Naruto's neck, the student who had supposedly left them for training on her own for a while. The fact that a thin sheen of perspiration covered her skin and she was wearing Naruto's shirt left little to imagination.
Kakashi wiped away the tear that was sliding down his lone eye. Sensei may not have been proud, but I sure as hell, with his will of pervert shining so brightly. The future of this world seems perversely bright. He will be your legacy among perverts, Jiraiya-sama. I'm sure of it. Chapter end.
Title: Uzumaki Chronicles. The Swirling Tides author. Akash XD rating, mature.
Naruto Uzumaki. Age, 18 physically, 12 by birth height, 5'10". Main character, blonde. Kasumi Uzumaki. Age, 16 physically, 12 by birth height, 5'4". Naruto's twin sister redhead. Natsumi Uzumaki. Age, 15 physically, 14 by birth height, 5'3". Naruto's elder sister, blonde. Kushina, Uzumaki, age 19 physically, 30 by birth height, 5'5". Naruto's mother, redhead. Kibi no Yoko, age 19 physically, unknown by birth height, 5'6". Naruto's demoness, redhead. Tekane, Kurama, age 18 height, 5'2", original character, Kurama clan, U branch family, brunette. Super Duper, brief summary from chapter 1 through 25, 1,200 words. Sharingan can't control the Kaibai, so Madara didn't use her in his fight against Hashirama. Neither Mito nor Kushina become the Kiimbi Jinchuriki. On October 10th, Kibai ended up attacking Konoha to relieve stress after being enraged by Madara's escape from her, and ended up getting her Yoki sealed in Naruto's twin sister Kasumi and her soul in Naruto by Minato, who died in the process. 5 years later, Kaibai contacts Naruto for the first time and strikes a deal with him, and by the end of his 6th year, he's able to obtain the Sharingan and activate his Rinnegan, fusing them together to form the Yogengan. Eye of the Prophecy. He is then trained by Kushina in basic ninjutsu and taijutsu for 2 years along with his sister, after which he leaves on a training journey. During his 4-year-long training trip, he rescued Natsumi, his long-lost elder sister, found another Uzumaki survivor who joined Kushina and Kasumi in Konoha, and met the Ama trio, Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan. They became quick friends since Naruto saved Konan from Hanzo using the right moment of distraction, and then later they found out Nagato and Naruto were cousins.
4 years later he came back to meet his mother and sisters, getting together with Kasumi almost right away. He's easily Kage level by this time. Together they took the graduation exams, breaking all previous records by a large margin, and Kushina managed to get them into Team 11 with herself as their sensei.
Tobi contacts the AIM trio around this time and takes over the Akatsuki. Secretly, Konan informs Naruto about this and tells them what they know about Tobi's plans. The Uzumaki discuss how to deal with the situation among themselves, and conclude that they should collect as many suitable clans and powerful shinobi as allies as possible, and revive Uzushogakure no Sato. Kushina managed to acquire some info on Orochimaru's plan to invade Konoha, so they plan to use it to their advantage in escaping Konoha during the invasion, also causing a lot of damage while at it.
To make sure Orochimaru doesn't permanently harm any of them with his cursed seal, they decide to study it first just in case, kidnapping Anko as a way to acquire the seal. Once done with understanding and removing the seal, they give Anko the offer to join them or die. She accepts, but they still decide to block her memory until the invasion.
They convince the Kurama clan to join them and abandon Konoha, with Takane's help, who is also the most talented Jinjutsu user of the Kurama clan. They then unsealed Yakumo's power and tamed it with a fine jutsu that also enabled them to keep that power from being used on one of their own, just in case. Meanwhile, Mikoto figures out Kushina's intentions to leave the village and decides to join them and also try to find Itachi to get some answers. Team 7 is given the mission to Nami no Kuni, where Kakashi gets injured and decides to call for backup. Naruto's team is sent as backup there so that Sarutobi could assassinate Kushina out of Konoha, since recently she's been becoming too much of a risk and showing subtle signs of rebellion. He handpicks a team for the job consisting of a censor, a Raiten expert, Takane, as the Genjutsu expert, and an unknown shinobi, not an original character.
Team 11 moves to Nami no Kuni as ordered, but decides to use this opportunity to their advantage. They can't just leave since they also need to move Kurama clan out of the village and cause a lot of destruction in Konoha, which will only be possible during the invasion. Once they arrive in Nami no Kuni, they move into Tazuna's house and get themselves up to date with the situation. Natsumi pretends to heal Kakashi and Sakura but doesn't actually do anything. The Uzumaki girls are revealed to have been working on two big Fuinjutsu projects, one for the barrier outside Uzushiogakure when it is re-established and one to make giving birth less fatal for Uzumaki females.
Naruto rescues a highly skilled blacksmith and his granddaughter Inami no Kuni from thugs, and the old man agrees to pay off his debt by working for Naruto. He also accepts Naruto's request to write down his techniques and tips in scrolls, so he could learn them later. Naruto then settles them in the newly created safe house in Nami no Kuni, which is self-sufficient for the most part. Meanwhile, Rin's infiltration of Konoha is discovered by Nina, who manages to almost capture her, but the Inuzuka girl escapes at the last moment thanks to a failsafe by Arashi. After a brief exchange, she is again set off to go find Kushina and continue her previous mission. Around this time in Nami no Kuni, Kakashi and Sakura regain consciousness, and somewhat catch up with the situation. Kakashi is adamant about helping Team 11 with his own genin, even though he's in no condition to use chakra at this time. Kushina refuses, but he still decides to train his team to prepare them better.
Gato puts out a mission for high-level missing nin to take care of the threat of reinforcements from Konoha, and Kuratsuchi Tsuchikage's granddaughter, OC Kagura, an ex-Konoha Anbu, game character, and Aoi Rokusho anime character, accept the mission. Takane's team detects the new arrivals in the area but decides not to interfere for the time being.
Kushina then has her children try to locate Gato's mansion, which Naruto manages with ease, by using his mind-reading abilities on a few thugs. Once they get there, they proceed to kill all the thugs and bodyguards stationed there, vastly increasing the number of souls in Naruto's Raijin. After scouring the mansion out for useful things, they proceed to write down Gato's will, which they have him sign forcefully when he comes home, after which he's left to Kushina's wrath until his life bleeds out. Naruto collects all the items he thought could be useful in the near future, and then Kasumi uses a large Jikiken Fuinjutsu to seal the entire mansion into a scroll, to be used later if needed. Kakashi teaches Team 7 tree climbing by having Sakura try it. She gets it after a few tries, even without a demonstration. Once Amai and Sasuke are able to do the same, Kakashi gives Sasuke a fire jutsu scroll, which pisses Ami off, so she decides to go off and train her own.
Her desperation to learn something to better defend herself works in Naruto's favor, who convinced Amy to have a seal put on her to ensure her loyalty to him before he teaches her anything. Even though he made it clear that he will never teach her any personal or family techniques, she accepts the general training more than gladly. The Fuinjutsu will enslave her completely if she ever thinks about betraying Naruto. Once this is done, Naruto and Amy head back to Tezuna's house, where their arrival under certain conditions leads Kasumi and others to believe that they had sex, which wasn't true, and Kasumi huffs and walks upstairs. At the same time, Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 walks into the house. He is especially proud of Naruto for being so perverted. Even though they don't talk much, that's one thing he can respect.
Chapter 26. Crux?
Tezuna's house. Nami no Kuni. Tsunami hummed a merry tune to herself as she set the plates around the table for dinner. She was in high spirits thanks to the presence of so many ninja in her house, and Naruto's personal help. She hoped that soon her country will be a happy place once more, at least then Kai's soul can rest in peace.
Why are you people acting like this is a game? You're all going to die. Gato will kill you all. Naruto blinked as he tried to look for the source of the squeaky voice. Was it just me? Or did something speak?
Natsumi giggled, assuming that her brother wasn't being sarcastic and just couldn't see the small boy from the opposite side of the table. It's Tsunami-chan's son on the other side of the table. He's kinda short so you can't see him.
Meanwhile, Tsunami was trying to reprimand Inari without coming off as too harsh, and at the same time convincing Kasumi to stay downstairs for dinner and stop pouting in jealousy over the girl on Naruto's lap. After a while she'd had enough. Stop. On the chairs now. Inari was in his chair faster than a shunshin, and Kasumi was left blinking in shock at the blue-haired woman's apparent courage to order her around. You don't have any right to...
Kasumi, chair, now.
Kasumi duplicated Inari's action even faster, having already reached her destination before Kushina was halfway through saying her name.
The redhead gave her daughter a sweet smile. Good girl. And Amy, my son is not a chair. She looked rather annoyed at how doe-eyed and lovey-dovey the Amy was being with Naruto. She really hoped her son knew what he was doing. The dark-haired girl sitting on the blonde's lap had the decency to blush and hurriedly move to a nearby chair.
Kakashi chuckled at the group, relieved that for once the other team wasn't behaving like they were on a mission. They were, but that didn't mean they had to be so serious all the time. Truth be told, the Hatake himself had been like that before his teammate had been killed all those years ago. But now he knew that wasn't how it was supposed to be like. I was wondering, have you met Jiraiya-sama, Naruto? The blonde shrugged at the silver-haired Jonin's question, but didn't see any harm in replying. Caught him peeping on my sisters. That's the only time I met him. Kakashi's eyes opened wide in shock. How impressive. To be able to influence someone this much in just one meeting. Jiraiya-sama's perversion is more infectious than I thought. But then again, I expect nothing less of a legend like him.
Naruto suppressed the sinister chuckle that almost got out of his throat. Impressive indeed. I'm still shocked he survived.
Kushina sent her son a subtle look, hoping he wouldn't give out any sensitive information. While the other Jonin was relaxed and laid back at the moment, he wouldn't fail to catch any facts Naruto might let slip unintentionally if he talked too much. To Kushina's relief, her son didn't speak any further on the matter, and Kakashi just chuckled, thinking the Toad Sage had been caught peeping and was beaten till he was a twitching mess. Tsunami then proceeded to serve the dinner for everyone, happily taking in their pleasantly surprised reactions. While the food on their first day had looked like some mutated monstrosity, this time it looked completely normal. That was quite an accomplishment considering the ingredients hadn't been changed at all.
Wow, Tsunami-san, how did you make this? It's completely different from what you made yesterday. It looks good, and probably tastes better.
The brunette blushed at the praise but gave him a nod of acknowledgement. If you're interested, you can come to the kitchen and I'll show you. The grin from the blonde had Tsunami giggling as it reminded her of an eager child. All right. Kitchen. Naruto nodded his head in approval. I see.
He grinned at the woman. Your management skills are exceptional. To be able to do all this with such limited resources is no small feat. Tsunami looked away, embarrassed at the continuous praise. Stop already. I get it, you like the food, but it's nothing that special.
Naruto chuckled as he shook his head in amusement. No, it is. Actually, if you're willing to give it a try, I might give you something bigger to manage. As a bonus, it'll help your family's situation greatly. The blue-haired woman frowned, having no idea what he was talking about. What do you mean something bigger? I don't understand. Naruto tapped a finger against his chin as he thought of the best way to put the offer forward. It wouldn't do to reveal what they had actually done. She didn't need to know that yet. Well, you may not know this, but my family is quite rich. Unfortunately, we have too many things to focus on to be able to really pay attention to business, so most of that money lays dormant. Tsunami nodded mutely, wondering where he was going with this.
So to put it simply, let's just say if we were to give you the management of a large company here, will you be willing to manage it with full capabilities?
Wait. I think you don't understand. I'm just a housewife. I don't have any skills in business management. Naruto shook his head as he grabbed her shoulders and stared into her eyes. Tsunami, I've been observing you from time to time, and I'm satisfied with what I've seen so far. You're someone willing to work against all odds. You supported your father even though you knew he probably never stood a chance against Gato. You're someone willing to compromise. I was more than a little forward with you, and yet you didn't protest for the sake of your father and your country. You're someone who can make something great out of negligible resources. Just look at what I gave you, and what you made from it. Natsumi was eating your food happily, and let me tell you, that girl has always been treated like a princess, so that says something. It was true to an extent, while Natsumi hadn't been loved prior to meeting her family. She had received the best possible diet for the sake of enduring that her bloodline developed as expected. And once Kushina got her daughter back, needless to say, she'd been spoilt silly. While that would have been enough for me, you're also the person managing this household's finances, right?
Tsunami just continued to stare at him in shock as she nodded dumbly. Naruto nodded in satisfaction. I've seen how people here are almost destitute. For you to be able to keep your family in such a good condition despite the circumstances is nothing short of impressive. The brunette bit her lip. That's not something you should be giving me credit for. San is the one who earned that money. I just made sure he didn't spend it all on drinking and that we had enough saved up for an emergency.
Naruto smiled. See, that just shows your forethought. Tsunami looked away uncomfortably. I still don't think I can manage any company properly. And not to mention that no business can prosper as long as Gato is here. The blonde waved his hand, dismissing the threat level of the pudgy businessman so casually that the woman couldn't help but gape. Don't worry about that. It's something that will be dealt with. What I want you to do right now is to seriously think this over. Your father isn't getting any younger, and then there is your son, who needs to be looked after for quite a while yet.
Gato would have been extremely dangerous had he known that it was Kushina he was dealing with, a kunoichi so powerful that she could go toe-to-toe with the Yondaime Hokage before his death. In that case he would have taken full advantage of his more than decent contacts, and if Naruto's calculations were accurate, he would have informed the Raikage of it.
Even Naruto wasn't sure how his mother would fare against the fearsome combo of the Raikage and Killer Bee. Both of them were high S rank, and from what he'd heard they worked together like real brothers. Kushina would be hard-pressed against such a duo under normal circumstances, but since lightning was her weakness, and both of them were high-level lightning users.
They were lucky it hadn't gone that way, but even if it had, Kushina was counting on Naruto and Kasumi to protect their sister and help her gain an edge in the fight as well. It was an undesirable situation though, since Kasumi wouldn't fare well against lightning either. The fight had a good 50% chance of resulting in their defeat.
Tsunami winced. Okay, I'll think about it. Let's go back now, or the others will start wondering why we're taking so long. No. Kushina rolled her eyes in exasperation. While Kasumi's regeneration was impressive, it wasn't something that could counter hunger. Too long without food would start affecting even her. Why not? The food looks completely normal. Eat it already. Kasumi pouted. I told you I'm fine, Ka-chan. Her mother huffed. Do what you want then. Don't come crying to me later. Tsunami giggled at their banter. She would never have believed it if anyone had told her that the redhead could be so cute before today, especially with the scary first impression Kushina had given her.
You're all going to die. Kakashi swallowed another bite through his mask before nodding at Naruto, completely ignoring Inari's declaration of death. So have you read Jiraiya-sama's books yet? Aika. Violence is especially good.
The blonde shook his head, wondering why the Jonin seemed to act like this even though they hadn't ever talked to each other before this mission. No, I haven't, and I'm not interested really. I'd rather do things myself than read about it. Kakashi nodded. He had seen that the blonde was quite forward with girls, and had bagged Tsunami and Ami quite quickly. And his twin sister obviously allowed him to touch her, but Kakashi was sure that's as far as he went. It may be tough keeping hands off such a beauty, but the Hatake knew Kushina wouldn't allow such a thing to go too far. If they wanted to improve their standing in the village, then doing something so scandalous was out of the question. Even though incest among bloodline clans wasn't unheard of and quite acceptable, it was usually limited cousins or distant relatives. Not to mention that if Kushina was a diplomatic thinker, she'd know that marrying Kasumi off to a noble would help them greatly. Maybe not with Naruto's stigma problem, but the Uzumaki family as a whole would surely be able to live better lives that way. Kakashi himself was a great candidate for Kasumi, considering the probability of him becoming the Rakudame was quite high. Jiraiya and Tsunade were the prime contestants for being the Godame, but in his generation Kakashi was the only one aside from Azuma who had both the skills and intelligence for the position. Azuma was out of the equation thanks to his status as one of the 12 ninja guardians, so unless Itachi came back with a miraculously squeaky clean record, there was no one better than Kakashi for being the Rakudame. Unless Kushina decided to settle for some clan leader, which really wouldn't help her as much as a Hokage, Kasumi would have to marry either Jiraiya or Kakashi. Given Jiraiya's chances of becoming the Godame weren't high thanks to his poor reputation of being an irresponsible pervert, Kakashi was quite certain that eventually Kasumi would have to marry him. Kushina could of course give Natsumi's hand to Jiraiya as well, and really aim high in social standings. At the very least, she would gain the political power needed for mass adoption of orphans to kickstart her clan to prosperity once more.
Letting his eyes caress the young girl's delicate curves, Kakashi stifled a giggle as he imagined them with him. Natsumi was pleasant for his eyes too, but he personally preferred the red-haired girl due to her brother complex. If she was willing to allow Naruto to touch her like that, he knew she'd be more than willing to act out on some of his more kinky fantasies. He decided to keep his thoughts to himself though. They probably already knew but didn't say anything due to Kasumi's obvious brother complex. Shaking his head, Kakashi cleared his thoughts. It wasn't going to happen for a few years yet. As sexy as Kasumi may be, she was only 12 and he wanted his sensei's daughter to have a happy life. He knew he would indulge all her desires when she married him. That's the least he could do for his teacher's sake. Touché, but doing things yourself isn't something we can always afford with our career. I'm sure you'll discover this when you advance in ranks. Naruto didn't respond verbally, opting to simply shrug. He had no particular interest in talking with the Jonin. He knew they'd be enemies as soon as his family turned against Konoha. Still, Kakashi's attempts at getting familiar with him were somewhat amusing.
The Jonin seemed to pick up on his lack of interest and sighed in disappointment. Damn, I had a good conversation going with him too. I paused it for too long in my fantasies. His sisters are too close to him. If I manage to befriend him, then they'll be nice to me too. And I know then Kushina-chan won't be able to be angry at me for too long. Then I can finally be a part of Sensei's family. It may be years before Kushina-chan even considers arranging her daughter's marriage. I don't want to wait that long to befriend them. Why do you act all tough? You're no match for Gado's men. Naruto winced as he rubbed his ear. He had decided to ignore the brat's insults for Tsunami's sake, but it was becoming rather hard with all the constant yelling. Ouch! That hurt my ears, Pipsqueak. Tone down the volume, will you?
Inari snarled. Since the moment these strange people have come, they've been acting like Gado is no big deal. After all we've gone through, after all this suffering, how dare they treat our problems as if they aren't even worth worrying about? You don't understand how hard our life has been.
The room's temperature dropped as Inari realized that perhaps he went too far, but the boy was far too angry to apologize for it. The words echoed in Naruto's mind. You don't understand how hard our life has been. A cold rage descended upon Naruto's mind. Images came to him of his own past. Kasumi's desperate, tormented expression, haunted by guilt for a sin she did not commit. Kushina's exhausted face, weighed down by pressures she had no choice but to bear. The snarling visage of the villagers praying for his death, all for a burden left to him by his own father.
I don't understand how hard life can be.
The chair clattered behind him as the blonde abruptly stood up, glaring at the startled boy in front of him with malice. I'll tell you how hard life can be. Since the moment I was born, I've been treated like scourge of my village. You've had one man to worry about, and even he wasn't focused solely on you. I, on the other hand, had a whole village who despised my very existence. For years I've trained and trained and trained till my body gave up. And then some. Just so they couldn't take away everything and everyone I loved. The first attempt on my life took place when I was a 3-year-old. I barely survived, and my sister has been mentally unstable since then.
Kasumi pouted at being called mentally unstable. I think I turned out okay.
Naruto continued, ignoring Kasumi's protest. I've been through things you can't even imagine, and I've never cried even once. What about that time when I was giving you genjutsu lessons? Remember?
Hello, angsty speech in progress here. Can I finish it without being interrupted, Q-chan?
Sure, be my guest.
Others took his momentary pause as a sign of him thinking something over. Naruto continued, not bothering to go into further details since Kakashi was right there, and Inari wouldn't understand anyway. I know about what happened in your country. And let me be frank, I am not impressed. Ma, that's enough Naruto, he's just a kid. Kakashi sighed in defeat when said blonde just glared at him. Knowing that further argument would ruin whatever progress he'd made with his sensei's son, the Jonin decided to back down for now. Naruto leaned forward on his table, eyes narrowed dangerously as he glared at Inari. What he had found out from those thugs. Memories had been pitiful, but not enough for him to go around preaching others. When actively provoked, however, even he had his limits. One man stood up against the guy who tried to push your whole country down, and when he needed his people the most, no one came forward. People like that don't even deserve being saved. I say his life has been wasted on this country.
Inari slammed his hands on the table, tears trailing down his cheeks. Stop it!
Naruto smiled almost kindly, but his eyes held no sympathy. Ah, now you gain the courage. It's much easier standing up against people who you think won't hurt you, News flash dear boy, I'll kill you faster than Gato can pronounce his own name. Don't piss me off, but I suppose it's already too late. Tsunami blinked in shock as she realized Naruto had already moved and was kneeling down on the table right in front of Inari. And Naruto-kun, please stop. That's enough Naruto. He may want to fix certain relationships, but innocence didn't need to be sacrificed just for that. The blonde gazed unaffected into Kakashi's eyes. Hataki, you're not my sensei. I'm under no obligation to follow your orders in presence of my sensei. Kakashi closed his single eye, knowing that while Kushina was there he couldn't order Naruto around even though he was a Jonin. Kushina-chan, please tell your genin too. Kushina closed her eyes as she leaned back in her chair. She didn't bother wasting energy by correcting his improper suffix to her name. Our mission is to protect Tazuna until his bridge is built, and even that mission is optional to complete. The main objective is to make sure your team returns to Konoha with minimal injuries. Right now, none of these guidelines are being breached. Inari shivered in his seat as sweat ran down his face. Tazuna sat there in his chair, shocked. Tsunami was biting her lip and trying to control the tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Kakashi slumped back in his chair, defeated. There was nothing he could do. He had no authority over Naruto with Kushina right there, and he couldn't use chakra without permanently damaging his body. His genin just looked on in disbelief. But you know what, Inari? You'll live, not because you're not annoying, but because you have a mother like Tsunami and a grandfather like Tazuna. I can respect those two because unlike you and the rest of this pathetic country, they're at least willing to stand up for their respective ideals without caring for the odds. That, and I don't like killing children. You're still young, perhaps you can change. Tsunami sighed in relief. She knew that Naruto wouldn't have killed Inari, but it was still great to hear the confirmation from him. It didn't help Inari's shivering though, his entire world was shaken to its very core. Ever since Kaizo was killed by Gato, Inari had convinced himself that by dying his father had betrayed the promise of always protecting him. But when Naruto had put raw harsh facts in front of him, he could now clearly see that it wasn't Kaiza who betrayed them, it was Inari and the people of Nami no Kuni who betrayed Kaiza. It was one thing to not be able to step up against Gato while Kaiza was being executed. But to not even think about standing up against him after Kaiza's death for so many years, and worse, blaming the one person who did stand up for you and died for that reason. That's pathetic on a completely different level. Tsunami would normally have interfered him by now, but her anger at the blame put on Kaiza even though he did all he could and died kept her from stopping the blonde. Inari did need a wake-up call.
Natsumi gave him a pleading. Look this time, Naruto-kun.
Naruto clicked his tongue and in a blink he was at the door. Fine, I'll go and cool off. I'll come back tomorrow morning. But remember this Inari, Kaiza's life was a complete waste. Not because he died for you, but because you decided to spit on his entire life by letting Gato oppress you and your people for so many years. Even now, instead of helping your grandfather by emotionally supporting him, you spout off those words of discouragement and despair. Do you enjoy trampling on Kaiza's grave? If my father was even half the man that Kaiza was, I would have been proud of him. Well, that wasn't the complete truth. He didn't actually know Kaiza, so he couldn't be sure. Minato was a self-sacrificing man as well, but the problem with him was that it wasn't self-sacrifice if you use a baby for it. It was child sacrifice, even though it wasn't really a sacrifice at all. The only saving grace the man had was the fact that he too had died. The same could not be said for many other Kages, who had made dozens of child sacrifices to make weapons for their villages. It was for this fact that Naruto wasn't too keen on moving from Konoha to Kiri, aside from the fact that they actually were a part of the forces that attacked Uzu, unlike Konoha that only allowed it to happen. But it gave him some relief to know that it would only be a temporary arrangement.
Without giving anyone a chance to form a reply, the blonde walked out of the door and into the woods surrounding the area.
Kushina blew out an exasperated breath. It won't do to leave him alone when an Anbu squad with questionable intentions was somewhere out there. They won't risk stalking her all the time, but that didn't mean they could be completely relaxed while outside the temporary barriers set up around Tazuna's house. Go after him, Kasumi-chan. The redhead gave her mother a nod as she followed her brother. He was walking at regular pace, so it didn't take her more than a few moments to catch up with him.
She nudged him playfully. I'm not unstable, you know.
Naruto rolled his eyes at his twin sister. Come on now, just because you're unstable doesn't mean I love you any less.
The redhead blinked, and then a grin lit up her face. Then, it's okay.
It's strange though.
What is? Naruto wrapped an arm around the girl's waist, pulling her close as they continued walking deeper into the woods. Large masses of people. Sometimes they can be so ferocious, and at other times so pathetic. Look at Konoha. The people there are so quick to spite anyone they don't like without a hint of fear. And then look at Nami. With just 100 or so thugs and these thousands of people are left groveling. Kasumi rested her head on the blonde's shoulder as she closed her eyes, letting her brother guide her path. I think they are brave against those they think can't harm them, and weak against those who stand a chance against them. That can change with the right manipulation and a few words, though.
Naruto chuckled at her theory. You're right. In Konoha the civilians have never been threatened. They're always the first priority to protect in case of even a hint of an attack. They feel invincible, even against a demon container. But here their strongest man was killed right in front of them, exposing their vulnerability. I don't really care, Oni-chan. Why did you even bother with that kid? Let them do what they want with themselves.
Naruto frowned. While he would have no problem with doing just that, certain factors needed him to go along with a particular plan to resurrect Uzushiogakure. He'd be needing a few allies like Nami no Kuni to sustain that village. Only then could they stand a chance of contending against Akatsuki Madara, and perhaps even an invading hidden village along with various other threats. He would be happy to ignore everything like Kasumi, but he knew that would just get them killed eventually. As strong as they might be, they were not infallible.
It's not that easy, Kasumi. I have plans for this place. I hope you understand. I don't want a bunch of pathetic wimps living here. Even though Gato is dead, I need these people to at least have some sort of spirit in them, or they'll be completely worthless. He sighed tiredly. Furthermore, the fact remains that the new Uzushiogakure is going to be a large mass of people as well. The old Uzushio contained just our clan. They were like a family, so they didn't have to worry about something like this. If the new Uzushio turns out anything like this place or Konoha. His dojutsu became visible as his chakra flared, black flames coated his hand, blazing yet not burning it. He clenched his fist, smothering them out. I'll raise it to the ground with my own 2 hands, as soon as they fulfill their purpose.
The redhead grinned cheekily. I'll help you, Anami-chan. But still, what did you mean by me being unstable?
Naruto looked at her oddly for a few moments before shaking his head. You've changed since that day, Kasumi. You used to be a bright, cheerful girl who always saw the glass half full instead of half empty. Afterwards, you simply didn't care for the glass at all, just me and Ka-chan. And then I made perhaps the worst decision of my life.
Kasumi frowned. What do you mean, Anui-chan? And everyone changes, it's called growing up. The blonde clicked his tongue. I understand perfectly well what growing up is, and complete change of personality is not it. And by the worst decision of my life, I meant leaving you for 4 years. Before that, you still retained some part of what you used to be.
He stopped walking and turned to the girl, trailing the back of his rough hand against her cheek. Now I only see glimpses of that girl. Tell me, how desperate were you to see me for those 4 years I was away? You could hardly stay away from me before. I should have known staying away from you for years would ruin you. Moreover, when I came back, you cried for a while and then went back to a seemingly normal girl with a slight obsession for her brother. But I can see what's really there.
Kasumi stepped back with what felt like fear clear in her eyes. I'm fine. The blonde narrowed his eyes as his grip on the girl's wrist tightened. Don't hide from me.
Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked down. Fine, you want to hear it. I wanted to die when you weren't there. Happy now, are you? The blonde stepped closer to her and wrapped her in a tender hug. No, I just didn't want you to keep bottling it up. You know I love you. The girl sniffed into his chest. I was never good enough for you, was I? Naruto groaned. This again. Come on, Kasumi, I've told you many times if I had any choice, I'd leave everything behind and live alone with you, just the 2 of us somewhere far, far away. Then why did you have sex with?
I didn't. You misunderstood me. Just trust my word on it.
The redhead was silent for a few moments before she nodded.
I noticed you had that glint in your eyes after you found out about me, and Makoto too. But you were too scared to voice it, eh? What were you thinking? Don't even think about hiding anything if you really love me.
Kasumi sighed into his chest in something akin to defeat. Oni-chan, as I said before, you've never been satisfied with me and I know it. If I protest too much you might just leave me again. A- and I really can't live with that, not again. The blonde half-demon scowled, feeling guilty. It wasn't an emotion he experienced often, but he couldn't help it this time. Kasumi, you're my first life partner. We've been together since before our birth. 4 years of separation, is that enough for you to stop understanding me? Kasumi cringed. Are you disappointed again? Naruto removed her from his chest as he pushed her down till she was sitting on the ground. Then he sat down facing her. Naruto stared right into her eyes and deactivated his eye lens. Look into my eyes and tell me, do you really think I care any more for myself than I do for you?
Kasumi bit her lip as she looked away. Naruto shook his head. I'm a half-demon now, Kasumi. Do you reject me because of it?
Her eyes snapped back to his, holding his hands tightly in her own as her soft blue eyes focused back to his metallic rippled ones. No, I don't care about that. I'll always love you. Even if you turn into a monster of carnage, I wouldn't care. Naruto smiled as he tugged one of the girl's long crimson locks behind her ear. And that's why, even though you're far from the little cheerful girl you used to be, I'll always love you just as much.
Kasumi blushed as a genuine smile lit her face.
Now moving on to other topics, I'm still a half-demon, and I'll instinctually lust after almost every desirable female I see.
The redhead made a sour face, clearly unhappy with the idea. Even Sakura.
Naruto cringed. She said the strangest things sometimes. I said desirable.
Kasumi blushed, but couldn't keep the relief off her face. Oh.
The blonde shuddered once, trying to rid himself of the mental images. Even if I fuck them, I won't love anyone but you with the same intensity. I do love Ka-chan, Natsumi, and Nina. However, I can assure you I never have and probably never will love anyone else like you. Sex is not always love, get it yet?
The gorgeous redhead looked down, feeling confused. So, are you mad at me because I got jealous?
Naruto chuckled. Truth be told, he thought it was cute when she was huffing and pouting, but she didn't need to know that. Not at all. Get jealous all you want, but I need you to understand that you will always, always be the most valuable girl in my life. No, you are my life. If I had to pick just one person to spend the eternity with, I wouldn't think twice before picking you.
Kasumi smiled at him beautifully in genuine happiness. Thank you, Anumai-chan. She leaned forward and planted a soft kiss on his lips, and then pulled back with the slightest blush dusting her cheeks. I was thinking that maybe you weren't happy with me, so you were going for others. But as long as you come back to me, I can live with that. I don't like it, but I will accept that part of you as readily as I have accepted every other one. I won't have to let any of these other girls touch me though, right? Naruto stood up and patted her head affectionately. Of course not. And thank you, that means a lot to me. He grinned at her as she looked up to meet his eyes. Tangling his hand in her hair, he pulled the girl up until their lips met in a fiery kiss. His eyes opened a little wider as he felt Kasumi kissing him almost aggressively. They both panted as they pulled back a few moments later,